What's up, everyone? Welcome to GameFace, episode 37. Hopefully a little more low-key than last week. I think I almost had a coronary on the way home after last week's episode. Definitely an intense one, to say the least. I do want to start off the show by thanking all the new subscribers to Sifted. We actually had one of our best weeks for subscribers ever in the past week. So it's been a pretty good week as far as getting new people. Still a drop in the bucket compared to what we would need to bring on a lot of the GT guys. But I do just want to personally say thank you to all the new subscribers and welcome to the website. Hope you guys love it. It seems like most of you are enjoying it so far. So welcome to Sifted. Hope you enjoy your time. Things are starting to heat up a little bit in the games industry, Matt. Starting to get good releases pretty much every week. We have plenty of stuff to talk about on the show this week.
Yeah, the early 2016 rush is finally starting to
happen, yeah. So a couple things we want to talk about just before the show kicks off. Kojima today finally spoke. Polygon scored like the big interview at DICE today. Got him on record talking about some stuff. He's still pretty coy.
When isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he always has been, but they did ask him a lot of questions.
Is it with Del Toro?
Del Toro was there. I think they did actually a panel today. It was Jeff Keighley, Del Toro, and Kojima, I think, on the panel. So basically what's happened, people are going to always wonder why he is not talking about what happened with Konami. And just for some of you who may not know how it works usually when you leave a company, is if you get severance, which is a payment that you get for having worked there, they basically will pay you when you leave for X amount of time, and it's usually based on how long you worked there. But a lot of times when you get that severance, you can't talk about anything that happened at the company while you were there. So
at the very least for a period of time.
Yeah, for a set amount of time. So it could be in 7 years he's able to finally talk about what really happened. But if you're waiting to kind of get that dirt on the whole Kojima-Konami thing, you're probably going to be waiting a long time to get that. But
yeah, something I would guess, like we're either never going to know exactly what happened, or we will find out what happened when the people involved are so old they don't care anymore.
Yeah. He used some analogies to talk about PT and Silent Hills. He was saying PT was like them climbing Mount Fuji to prepare to climb Mount Everest, and it was so successful with that little thing that they put out, and people liked it so much, which I still don't really get. Like, I honestly didn't like it as much as everybody else did.
I liked it, but it also wasn't like it was not reflective of the actual game they were showing.
Right.
So I didn't know what
Well, it also a game came out this week, and we have an eval out for it right now called Layers of Fear, and it's like the first like PT clone. Like it. But I mean, what I don't like about those games is that it's just like all trial and error. That's what I didn't like about PT. It's like, turn on the radio, turn off the radio, turn on the radio, turn it on the fifth time, it says something. And then you're like, oh, well, now I'm going to sit here and turn it on.
Or like all the stuff with like the headset stuff where you just say particular, I'm like, how am I supposed to know that?
Right. I just don't like games like that where you just sit there and like, it's almost like you're using a spreadsheet to play the game. You're like, I tried this and I cross-referenced it with this, check that one off. Now let's do the next. Like,
I actually did that with Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah.
I collected all the flags.
Right, yeah. To me, that's not a fun video game. So, but yeah, the game Layers of Fear came out this week. It's basically, if you really are pining for a game like PT, you should probably play Layers of Fear. I'm not a big fan of those types of games. So
I think it was pretty cool, but I haven't played it.
I
watched like the first half hour on something that you curated yesterday.
Yeah,
looked cool. I don't know if it's like $20. I don't know how much it is.
Yeah, I think it is $19.99. I think it's $20. That seems to be the going rate for like...
for indie walking sims at this point.
Yeah, we mentioned it in the eval for that game too. The game is like 5 hours long, and for $20, it's like you're approaching the entertainment value of a movie at that point, which is like a territory that games never really tread in. Like,
but it's funny how I never question that. Like, I'm about to go, between me and my girlfriend, I'm about to pay like $30-something to go see Deadpool.
Yeah,
and like, I'm not even going to question that. But if a game costs like $35 and it was like 5 hours long, I'd be like, that's crazy.
Well, it's because we're conditioned to it. I mean, we expect to get X amount of play time per dollar spent with video games, and that amount of time is generally a lot higher than what you get with film.
Right.
So, I mean, the other part of it, too, is that a film that you watch for 2 hours a lot of times will cost $400-500 million to make.
True.
Whereas most games, typically $100-200 million.
Well, okay, they only cost $400-500
without the marketing.
million.
Yeah.
But a lot of the big ones are in the 300 million range when you include marketing.
What was Force Awakens? Do you know what the budget was for that?
Force Awakens is about 150 million.
That's it?
And then the rule of thumb is you double the budget to get the marketing. Because marketing's never included in the budget. So the theory
Force
is
Awakens would be way more than that.
Nah. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't that crazy.
It wasn't CG heavy, I guess. That's where you tend to
CG heavy,
jump a lot
but it wasn't
money.
like more CG heavy than any other big tentpole picture right now.
Yeah.
And Abrams knows how to bring a project in on budget, so
Yeah.
it's so probably and the rule of thumb, you double to get the full budget with the marketing included. So once that movie crossed the $300 million range, it was
the first
it was like day
day.
2. Yeah. It was like Deadpool. Deadpool cost $58 million.
Yeah. Really? That's it?
It was pretty cheap. They actually cut like $7 to $10 million off the budget during production, and they had there's a joke in there, I guess, about how like they could only afford 2 X-Men, and that's not really a joke. Like
It's like legit.
like they really could only afford Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and that was it.
Oh, that's funny.
But so Deadpool actually made its budget back, its production budget back on the first day, and then you double that to get the marketing was huge, and that probably was about $60 million of marketing. So once you pass $120 million, Deadpool's in pure profit zone. And it's well
over that, right?
Yeah, did that in one weekend, which is
it did really
crazy.
well,
so get ready for R-rated superhero movies, folks, because they're
I'm cool with that. It shouldn't have taken us long.
Sure. The next Wolverine will be rated R, no question.
You think?
After that, yeah, because it's Fox. It's the same company,
Makes
and I bet Deadpool will be in it too. I mean, come on. So yeah, I think you will start to see probably 2 years from now. You're going to start to see R-rated superhero pictures from and I think you're finally going to start seeing Image. You might see a Spawn movie again.
Yeah, I thought I read that they're working on a Spawn movie.
They've been working on
it's like a horror film.
They've been working on a Spawn movie for since the first one, but
Yeah.
nothing ever gets off the ground. But I know McFarlane has been very adamant that a real Spawn movie would be R-rated. So now maybe that'll open that door. And consider that the other thing that helped oddly enough, the other thing that helped Deadpool get R-rated was the fact that American Sniper did so well in the same time period.
Yeah.
Basically, you had to prove that the R rating. It's funny to me because back when we were kids, you had to be rated R to be taken seriously as an action picture.
No, you're right.
Like
yeah.
Terminator 2 is an R-rated film. You don't think about it.
I still kind of look at things that way. To
a
be
little
honest
bit,
with you.
yeah.
I mean,
But like Terminator 2 is an R-rated film. Why is it an R-rated film? Because there's squibs on the gunshots to the knees. That's
my
it.
general
But they
opinion is
had to get that R for anyone to not look at me like, oh, that's for babies.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
it's not even that. I just feel like if it's going to be realistic, it kind of needs to be rated R. If it's an action film, if people are going to die and it's not rated R.
I mean, you have a lot more leeway with violence on PG-13 now than you did back then.
Yeah, they've stretched it a bit.
There was also a time when anything PG that was a comedy had boobs in it, and that doesn't happen at all anymore.
Yeah.
So we've moved well away from that. But it's interesting to note that, maybe we'll start to see the re-rise of the R-rated action picture, because when we were kids, that was all action was R-rated. All the Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff, all the Steven Seagal stuff, that was the deal. They were R-rated movies. Your mom had to say it was okay. Let you into the cement bunker at the end of the mall, come back in an hour and a half when it's over. That's what we used to do.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting. I'm a big movie business industry follower, and I'm very interested to see what Deadpool means for the future of not just comic book or superhero movies, but for action movies in general, because it could be a watershed moment.
That's right. All right, so we do promise this is a video
We
game.
will talk about video games.
This is a video game.
Deadpool had a video game.
Video cast. And on that note, let's get to it with the Big Six. All right, party people. It's been a good week in video games. We got 6 great topics to discuss with you guys. First, we're going to talk about
the video game that has a movie with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually not true. There's some confusion.
Have they explained this now?
So there's confusion. People think that Quantum Break actually has a TV component to it, that you could go on Xbox Live and watch a TV show. That's actually not the case. There's scenes in the game that look like they're from a TV show, but they're actually just contained within the game.
Okay.
So that's been kind of a misconception with it.
But there's some live action footage?
Right, yeah. Well, you pay Iceman to be in your game.
Right.
You're not just going to render him with polygons. And so that's one thing. That's been kind of cleared up with the round of previews that have come out over the last week. But really the bigger news story is that Quantum Break was announced for PC, basically day and date with the Xbox One version. And so that was a huge deal when it was announced. People were like, holy crap, some people may have bought an Xbox One to play Quantum Break. Maybe they're big fans of Max Payne or Remedy in general. This game's been hyped for a long time.
And if any of you are out there, please raise your hand, because I'd like to see you.
Yeah. And so first they announced that it's coming to PC, basically day and date. People are really pissed off about it.
But wait. There's a catch.
There's more. And the more is that that's not the only game that is likely coming to PC. Gears of War 4 is already... none of it's officially announced. This was like a leak from a reliable source. Typically, this type of stuff has been right in the past. So, Gears of War 4 might be the flagship game for Xbox One. I can't think of another game right now for Xbox One that's going to draw more general interest, have a higher chance of driving hardware sales than Gears of War 4. And the next Forza Horizon, which they also announced, surprise, surprise, they're working on another Forza Horizon. Here we are with Microsoft falling into the same
Is it an even numbered year? There we go. Yeah.
They're falling into the same trap that they were in at the end of the Xbox 360 life cycle, where it's the same 5 games just cycled over and over again.
Well, Crackdown's in there somewhere.
Yeah, and Crackdown's coming.
Although that is why it's kind of a shame, and we talked about this several episodes ago, it's a shame that Scalebound isn't making it this year, because that's like the breath of fresh air in the Microsoft lineup.
So Gears for the next Forza Horizon are coming to PC as well.
Yeah, but there's a caveat to that too, isn't there?
Well,
it's it's not coming to Steam.
Right.
And you have to get it from the Windows 10
Store.
App Store or whatever, which means they're basically using these as leverage to try to get you to upgrade to Windows 10, which they
don't really need, because already the adoption rate for Windows 10 has been insane. It's through the roof.
I've thought about it just to get it to stop yelling at me, but I'm waiting until I'm sure everything I use is going to work.
I've upgraded all my machines to 10. I haven't had any issues with it. In fact, I like it a lot better than Windows 8. That's for damn sure. So
I'm still waiting. I'm sure there's a game that will convince me to update for the DirectX 12 goodness, but Quantum Break ain't it.
Now, here's
I'll
a caveat.
play that on my Xbox.
Yeah, here's a caveat I wanted to mention, though, that there's another side to this. And the other side of it is that when you buy Quantum Break for Xbox One, you get the PC version for free. So, and it's cross-platform, so your save transfers over to the PC version, to the Xbox One version, which sounds really cool, but when you start thinking about it, it's like, why would you need that?
I don't know.
Let's say you have a rental cabin and you have a PC at the rental cabin.
It's not like Vita and PlayStation kind of makes sense to have because you can play it on the go, or you can pick up where you left off when you get home and stuff. But I feel like this is probably just I don't want to go in the other room.
Yeah, well, the other angle too is that they put out the minimum PC requirements for Quantum Break, and they're insane. The recommended specs are bonkers. You need a beastly rig to play this game the way it's intended to be played. So they're counting on people having both this crazy, insane gaming PC and an Xbox One, and I still can't figure out what the point is of it. Again, what you're saying, the Vita makes sense, the 3DS cross-buy makes sense. If, they've put out a 3DS version of a game and you can play that other version, and, for instance, Hyrule Warriors are getting ready to put out the 3DS version of that. And
Smash Brothers. And...
Yeah, there's some games where it makes sense.
You're just using those things in different venues, whereas this is the same.
What is the angle here, Matt? I can't figure it out. Do they want people to use the Windows 10 App Store?
I guess. I don't know what they're after on this one, really. I'm sure it's a way to lure more people into upgrading to 10, but you're basically giving it away. If you're also buying the Xbox One version, I just don't see much difference between how you're playing. It's I don't have a theory. It sounds like a suggestion that popped up in a boardroom and nobody thought about it enough to say no.
Let's be honest. These games, all the money that these games generate, go into the same pot. It all goes into Microsoft's bank account. So if you're Microsoft, you don't really care which version sells more. All those sales are the same. So
that's one way to head off piracy.
I get that part of it, but the part I don't get is that you're trying to get people to buy Xbox One, and most people buy or choose the console to buy based upon the exclusives, because let's be honest, save for Street Fighter V and a couple others, pretty much every major third-party game comes to both platforms. So you're defining your unique selling proposition that you have for your console is what exclusives do we have for this. So you have these exclusives for Xbox One that are pretty highly anticipated and people are excited over. And then you're just going to not just release them for Windows 10, give them away on Windows 10. I just cannot understand this strategy. I've thought about it like all week, and I just cannot come up with why they would do this.
The only thing I can think is maybe the idea is that people who are buying an Xbox One maybe don't have the toppest end PC to run Quantum Break. And maybe the idea is that, like, well, later when you get a better PC and you've got Windows 10, you've got this free copy of Quantum Break sitting around, you can play it again and it'll look even better and it'll be even funner.
But even Windows 10 is, like, free. Like, I don't know anyone who's paid for Windows 10, so driving adoption of that doesn't seem like a really big motivator to me.
Well, they're driving adoption for some reason. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I just cannot.
I don't know what their plot is.
I mean, look, you're deterring people from buying Xbox One with this. And look, Phil Spencer has talked about this for like 2 years now. Like, this has been a big master plan of his all along. I think it was GDC maybe last year where he did the big presentation and talked about Fable Legends and how it was going to be cross-buy, cross-play across Xbox One and PC. So it's not like this came out of the blue, although I'm surprised that huge exclusives like Quantum Break would be day and date. Like, it just... You look at their bigger business proposition, it doesn't make any sense, man. Like, because you want people to buy Xbox One so that they buy more of your first-party software, but you're creating this huge deterrent, and I saw it all over Sifted this week. People were like, well, I was really on the borderline of finally buying an Xbox One. I was looking at Quantum Break, I was looking at Gears coming out later in the year, and now I'm like, why bother? And look, these people have powerful PC gaming rigs already. It's not convincing them to buy a new rig or update their rig. And Microsoft doesn't really get a cut of that anyway. It's not like Microsoft's making the hardware for it. No. So it's baffling.
They're just back in the part of their cycle where they care about PC gaming again. And then they support it for a couple years, and then it doesn't work, and then they ignore it for a while, and then a few years later you'll get another, we're super supporting Windows gaming. Here we go. It's happened with Games for Windows Live. It's probably going to happen with this again, and then it won't quite work the way they hoped it will, and they sort of back off it again, or maybe I don't know.
Microsoft, the timing though is so
Microsoft
bad.
Hasn't had a coherent strategy for like PC gaming for almost a decade at this point. I don't know what they're doing, but it's not like that's a new situation.
But is it a strategy for PC gaming, or is it the strategy for Xbox? Like,
I don't know. It must be somehow a strategy for PC gaming because that's where they're putting this shit.
And look, the timing is terrible.
And clearly the PC version of this is not a new idea. I mean, it's been developed alongside the Xbox One. I mean, this is a long-standing plan here.
Here's the only thing I've come up with this whole week, Matt, thinking about this, is that this is the last Xbox. It's the only thing I can think of. And they're trying to get people to start thinking about PC gaming more seriously, and maybe people who bought Xbox in the past, Xbox 360, Xbox One, original Xbox, to make them start thinking about by building a PC, buying a PC, a gaming PC. I cannot think of any other reason.
I don't think that's going to work.
I don't either, because you're telling people, hey, instead of spending $400 on this console, now spend $1,500 on this rig, because honestly, if you want to build a rig to play Quantum Break, it's going to cost you around $1,500. Yeah, like
maybe they just want us all to be Oculus ready.
And the timing's terrible. I mean, Microsoft right now needs all the console sales it can get. Like, look, it's getting its. At first, the race was like, yeah, okay, Sony's winning by a little bit, but now.
Well, Sony's way far ahead.
It's double.
But the thing about it is also like the Xbox One isn't doing badly, especially when you compare lifetime to lifetime on the 360. But compared to the PS4, it's like in the dust. So
it's also starting to wane, Xbox One.
I got to admit, I haven't really played anything on my Xbox One in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I get most review code for PlayStation 4.
Yeah, because PlayStation 4 generally runs it better. And then if there's anything interesting on the, you run into the same problem we're about to run into here. If there's anything interesting on the Xbox One, it's probably also on PC, and it looks better on my PC, so I generally play it there. The only thing I've really played on at my Xbox One that I recall is last year I played Halo, and I played Dark Dreams Don't Die.
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
And Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah. But see, that's the same deal. And
Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yeah. That was a month delay, which everybody thought Tomb Raider, other platforms, a year later. Mm-hmm. Nope. it's like Microsoft is sawing off its own hand. Like, I can't comprehend why they're doing this.
I don't know. I have a lot of questions for Microsoft from the beginning of the Xbox One idea to the present. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to understand what they've been thinking all this time. And my main personal answer would probably be like, I don't think there has been just one person thinking through all this. I think you're seeing a whole lot of strategy changes and a lot of power changing hands behind the scenes. And because there's just too many pivots happening with this system.
Well, Phil Spencer came in with the save after the disastrous launch, and they put him in place, reversed pretty much every policy that they had established when they first unveiled Xbox One. And in all honesty, he's done a great job. Like, if it weren't for him, it would be more than double that they're being outsold by right now.
Yeah.
But, the timing of this, when Microsoft really, look, it is getting to the point now where you're going to start to see third-party publishers question whether the Xbox One version is worth it. Mm-hmm. And look, right now, they're going to totally decide it is worth it. But if we keep going down this path, that decision gets harder and harder by the quarter.
Well, it's going to be an interesting thing because like the thing about the Xbox One is like it's a very similar architecture to the PS4 and the PC. So like making an Xbox One version of something is not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, middleware makes it a lot easier now.
Yeah, but it's not like the Wii U where it's like to make a Wii U version of something you have to make it run basically on last gen hardware. You have to make it work with a weird controller. I don't think people are going to abandon the Xbox One quite as quickly as they abandoned the Wii U.
Oh, I would never say that ever.
But if it ever actually gets to the point where people decide that like publishers decide it's not worth making an Xbox One version of something, that's mind-boggling. Like even the GameCube didn't really get to that point.
Yeah. Well, we're a couple years into the cycle now, so these aren't really new machines anymore.
No.
Which is surprising when I think about the number of quality games we've got for them. It's kind of disappointing to think at this point.
I think that'll feel better after this year.
Yeah, for sure. But still, typically...
I still say they launched a year early.
Probably.
I think they should have waited. They should have waited for slightly better hardware. They should have waited for slightly faster RAM, especially the Xbox One.
Yeah.
And because the current PC tech is just outclassing them in a way. I think current PC tech is like high-end PC stuff is outclassing them by a margin that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
With a console. In terms of modern stuff, maybe I don't know, PCs at the time of like the Super Nintendo might.
I don't know, my Voodoo 2 card.
The Voodoo 2, yeah.
Whooped the crap out of my N64 and Dreamcast back in the day.
True.
You could
never run Unreal 1 on a PS1, that's for sure. But in terms of like putting the same games on things, you just don't see that. I guess you fit Doom on a Super Nintendo, sort of, but like.
At the end of the day, like, I have no personal vested interest in how well Microsoft does. Mm-hmm. So, do I really care about this all that much? No. I would
prefer not the next generation not be Sony by itself.
Oh yeah,
that would be a little disturbing.
Yeah. Look.
I know the NX will be there, but come on.
Look, that was just me trying to figure out why this is happening.
Right.
But at the same time, I like the fact that more people are going to be able to play these games. I never want games to be trapped on this platform where only a set number of people can play them. Mm. I want as many people to get access to the games as possible. So if that's the case, I'm cool with this. I just think if I was working at Microsoft and I was in a position where my job depended on how well Xbox One does, this doesn't make any sense. It's a bad decision.
No.
Which leads me to believe that maybe these people aren't that invested in the Xbox brand anymore, and maybe they're looking at a different future strategy.
Could be.
You heard it here first, people.
The Xbox is doomed. It's all over.
That would really suck, by the way, if this was the last Xbox, because the competition would completely go away. Sony would have a monopoly on the market, save for whatever the NX is or becomes. That would be the worst thing that could happen, because then there's no competition to push them on their first party front, to make sure their first party exclusives are better than that.
I feel like
competition makes all boats rise, as I said last week.
I feel like Sony would still be, they've got a pretty robust in-house kind of exclusive, machine going on.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be worried about that necessarily for the next generation. Generation after that.
Yeah.
Whenever that would even be. Like, if you have no competition...
Or if you talk to Pachter, there may not even be one.
Yeah, well, okay. That's what he says. How many generations have we heard that,
Well, I don't know.
Oh, consoles are dead. Oops, PS4 is selling better than anything ever.
It's not that he's saying consoles are dead. He's saying that the way the technology is going to evolve, that the next generation will be the last piece of hardware that we buy, and then after that it'll be all in the cloud. Everything, it'll be like Gaikai or whatever.
Okay, well, I don't believe that.
Yeah,
unless the United States has an amazing like overhaul and everything becomes fiber optic, we do not have the internet bandwidth to do that properly. Like I would, PlayStation Now still.
You're talking 10 years from now, though.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
It's a long time, but it's also a very expensive overhaul of the entire country's infrastructure.
Well, no,
and I don't think it's going to happen.
fiber is already there. It's just
Some
tapping
places,
into the fiber.
not
It was
everywhere.
actually laid back in the 80s. All the fiber optics are already in the ground. It's just tapping and connecting to them that's the issue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we need to spend another $1 trillion on a fighter that doesn't work.
Right.
So I don't know where you think you're going to get the money to do that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because I have a pretty fast internet connection, but I still don't think PlayStation Now is acceptable in terms of like the lag in terms of control versus what you see.
For
on the
certain
screen.
genres, I think it works okay.
It
Like
depends,
I would
like-
never play a competitive game on it.
Well, I mean, they're very smart. They demoed Uncharted with it, which is like has kind of a mushy control feel anyway, so you don't really notice it. But then like you play like Street Fighter 4, and it's just like this
pretty much
is
unplayable.
not this is
If
not
you're
the game.
competitive, it's not even worth playing.
I mean, I guess it's pretty playable if you're both on the same machine because you both have the same disadvantage. But like you're not going to be playing online or anything. So like to me, like that's going to take an infrastructure overhaul in how we get our internet in this country. That I don't know if that's going to happen in the next 8 years.
I'll be interested to see the comments for this episode because I'm sure some of you sifters are going to come up with some reasoning for why this has happened. I've thought about it for like 4 days, and the only thing I can come up with is there's not going to be another Xbox. Like, that's literally it. So feel free to share your theories in the comments below this episode or even in our chat. But I'm at a loss for this. I think it's a terrible decision. I think it's a stupid decision on Microsoft's part. I think it's just cannibalizing its own platform and chopping its head off when it needs its head more now more than ever.
You usually do need your head.
Yeah. Particularly when you're battling a juggernaut like Sony right now that's like dominating you. Like, you need everything you can get. You need every card in the deck. You need every arrow in the quiver. You need every bullet in the chamber. Like, for them to just... These are big exclusives. These aren't like little whatever games. Like Fable Legends, people are like, okay, like Fable's kind of faded a little
Putting
bit.
Gears of War 4 on
No
the
one
PC
buys Xbox
would be the
for-
most surprising move for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is
Quantum
all
Break, okay, whatever. I mean, it's a draw to a certain demographic that loved Alan Wake and knows what Remedy is. But Gears of War, being able to get Gears of War somewhere else that's an odd decision.
Yeah. So,
maybe they'll change their mind.
I mean, it depends on the uproar, I guess. If people complain about it. And look, people are complaining. And if you even go on like YouTube and stuff like that where people are really vocal, the people are doing more than complaining. They're like, I'll never buy an Xbox. Like, what incentive do I have? And what incentive do you have? If you have a PC, there's none, really, other than playing on your couch, which, with Steam Link and things like that, even that barrier is like breaking down now. So, I don't know, people. I think it's a pretty bad move.
It does make me think about if the next generation rolls around and the Xbox brand isn't gone, I will think long and hard about whether I need the next Xbox.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need the next PlayStation because Sony's got all their first party stuff and all that.
Yeah, I mean they're never putting their stuff on PC.
But if I have a PC and I have a PlayStation 4 and I have an NX, do I need an Xbox? Because right now it looks like the answer is no.
Right, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, the other part of it is Xbox Live. They haven't really got that right on PC yet. They tried. It was pretty much a disaster.
Yeah, no one's ever... Also,
no one's going to pay to play online games on PC.
The console players have been trained to pay for their multiplayer. Gold
That's
did
the other
that,
caveat.
and then PlayStation Network followed suit, and that's that. It's done. We're done. Who knows? Maybe the NX will charge for why not?
I just, I can't see Microsoft turning its back on all that Xbox Live revenue.
It does seem like free money in a lot of it. And, I mean, that was the Xbox One I think they probably jumped the gun, but the Xbox One tried to be the ultimate, spear, the ultimate tip of the spear for what the Xbox program was supposed to do back in the 90s when Bill Gates started and saw the video game thing and said, we need to own this in the 21st century, do it at all costs.
Yeah.
And the first Xbox was a throwaway. Like it was like that was their foot in the door, and then the 360 was the next step. It ended up becoming
a doorstop.
And it really was. It's a good doorstop, though. So are the controllers, the Dukes.
The Duke, yeah.
The Dukes are amazing controllers. That that'll stun a burglar if you need. I mean, that's my definition of great technological art. But the 360 really took the next step forward and kind of changed what we thought online on console could be.
Yeah.
And then the Xbox One forgot it was a game console.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what? And and like, yeah, you can watch TV through it, but like,
TV,
which seems to be the only thing anyone on my friends list does, by the way. Like every time I load that up, I look at the friends list, which is very hard to find in general. Like, that's the thing, is like how isolating both of the new systems have become.
Right.
Where like you can't, it doesn't tell you when people sign on. Like,
well, you can turn that stuff on.
You turn that on the Xbox. You cannot turn it on the PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 will not tell you that your friends are signed in. It'll tell you when they join parties.
Right, constantly.
Why do I care about that?
For some reason, everyone on my friends list just constantly joins parties and leaves parties. Parties and leaves parties.
And we can see you.
Yeah. I just turned off the notifications. I just got tired of seeing it.
But like even when when at the height of my Battlefront playing, it hit me really hard that like back in the day when we'd all play the same game, my little online group and I would play the same game when it came out. We'd see them sign on,
and you'd immediately
invite them to the party. Yeah. And now, like, they have to come on and look for us and see if they can join the band, assuming the party tech even works that night.
Yeah,
and all this, and it's just like it's so weird how it's like
you're right though. They are isolating.
Yeah.
Like they don't. It's like the friends list and everything has been shoved to the background now, and it's all about here's what's on TV, here's what's on YouTube right now.
I used to be a bit of an achievement whore. I used to, I got a lot of 1,000 out of the thousands. And like now I don't care because it's hard for me to see my own achievements, let alone someone else's. No one's ever going to see it. Like it's not something we used to have like competitions where like, oh, I got 1,000 on this, I got 1,000 on that. No one ever looks at it anymore, so no one does it anymore. It's like
well, I have to turn like all my achievements off because I'm playing games that aren't out yet, and so if people come and like look at my trophies and stuff, they could go and report on it. So. One of the conditions a lot of times when you're playing pre-release software is you have to turn off all your notifications. Yep. And instead of me like going back and be like, okay, well I'm playing Rocket League now, I don't go back and like turn on the notifications while I'm playing Rocket League. Like I just leave them off.
Well, I just got my first platinum trophy of the entire generation.
What'd you get?
Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
So we missed an opportunity there. We could have done a platinum journey with you in Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yeah, it would have taken a while.
Yeah.
Thanks for making me run over 5,000 breakable objects in a stupid carriage, Ubisoft.
Yeah, that really sucks.
That year off is needed.
That's why I don't care about those things, but that's why we have Adam, who does Platinum Journey.
Normally I don't, but I got every other trophy in that just by normal playing, basically, and I was like, okay, I've run over a lot of shit.
Well, if you're that close, you have that one lap.
Like, and it actually, I mean, I turned on like some YouTube video. I think I actually watched I was watching like a playlist of the final Bosman while I just ran stuff over on the sidewalk, and it only took like one video. It was like 1.5 videos, and it was like, boink. I was like, good, done, we're out, let's go.
Plat,
thank you. So yeah, but I just don't really do that. It used to be like something I really enjoyed. I like the, I know some people hate achievements and trophies, but I always liked that like it made you do stuff you wouldn't otherwise do, and like.
I never hated them. I never ended up getting an affinity for them because. Last generation, when you reviewed and previewed games, you did it all on debugs.
Right.
Like, that's changed for this generation. Like, now, I do almost all my reviewing on the unit that I bought at retail. Mm-hmm. They just send you codes, and you download the code, and you have the game. You don't have to go through all the dumb crap of having, like, validation disks or dongles.
Oh, your firmware is that we need this firmware. You need, and then you got to, remember that? Like, having to, like, call up your friends at other outlets to find if they had I think Garnet Lee bailed us out once by like, oh, I have a disc of the latest Xbox firmware you guys can use, and like that's the only reason we got like the review done in time is because like
well, a lot of
someone
times
else had the firmware.
They would send you review code with a firmware update.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the firmware updates wouldn't work,
and or wouldn't activate, or that firmware would. And then a couple times I remember we got the firmware. The firmware was the wrong firmware for the version of the game that was on the disc, and it was just like. Every once in a while, that kind of thing's going to happen, and like that seems to be more or less eliminated this generation, which is good.
So that kept me from caring about achievements because I was I was spending dozens of hours on these games and getting nothing for them on my profile. So like I think I finished like the Xbox 360 generation with like 15,000 gamer score or something like that.
Yeah, your gamer score was not.
Oh, my real gamer score was like way over, maybe 200,000. I'm thinking. Well, maybe that's too high, but
it's a little high.
Yeah.
I'm in the I was in the 175,000 range by the end.
Yeah. So I was probably over 100,000.
Yeah.
And instead, I ended up with 15. So I was just like, I don't really care about this anymore.
But
so
I would replay stuff I reviewed sometimes if I liked it. And I did that for Assassin's Creed 1. I liked Assassin's Creed 1 so much I played it twice.
Wow.
And Far Cry 3, I did that with Far Cry 3. Not to get achievements, just because I liked Far Cry 3.
Just talking about all this stuff, though, it really makes me hope that this isn't the last Xbox, because they've done some great stuff.
Yeah.
They've stumbled a little bit with Xbox One. They're still making weird decisions and kind of dumb mistakes here and there. But it has provided like some groundbreaking things like that brand, and it would be a shame for it to go away purely if just for the competition element with Sony. So,
well, maybe next time they'll make a game system.
Yeah, that could be.
That could help.
Yeah. But again, I'll be interested to see what
Sony's the only one that has never made that mistake, really.
Yeah.
Like they've even though the PS3
PlayStation
had some weirdness.
I mean, the PlayStation 2 originally sold because it was a DVD player,
but it was always a game console.
Yeah.
And, they never forgot that. They always pushed it as one. They always,
But they were the pioneers of making consoles more than just a game console.
Yeah, but they never lost sight of what it was.
I mean, Nintendo really is the only one who's only made game consoles.
Yeah,
I mean, it really has always just been.
But I mean, like every PlayStation is a legit game console that doesn't rely on gimmicks to sell itself. Although they've had gimmicks, but like they abandoned them very quickly.
iToy.
Yeah.
It's done a few.
Eye of Judgment.
Yeah. Well, that was iToy.
Yeah, but I include that one separately. A, because it was so weird.
It was weird.
And B, because I had to watch a 10-minute presentation of that at the E3 2006 press conference. The craziest press conference I have ever been to. 10th anniversary this year. Very excited. I hope they do something acknowledging the giant enemy crab and Ridge
that
Racer.
Really was a bizarre
and I was
press
third row
conference.
center for that, and I thought I was dreaming. I thought it was I was in another world.
It was a meme generator, that whole thing.
And I remember halfway through the Eye of Judgment, the person next to me turns to me and goes, fuck are we watching?
Yeah.
Like, no one knew what was happening. They kept cutting the thing with the Africa trailer where everyone's like,
yeah,
it was silent.
$599 US.
$599. Yeah, please be excited.
Yeah.
It's like,
please get a second job.
Yeah, get a second job to afford your
Good
thing.
old Ken Kutaragi.
Ridge Racer.
Those were the days. All right, we got to move on. We're spending too much time on this, but I will be interested to see the comments on this episode. Maybe you guys have theories that I haven't figured out yet about why Microsoft is doing this. I honestly can't fathom it. So
I don't know. Maybe they just consider PC and console audiences so separate they don't think it's a thing.
It could be,
but I don't think that's wise.
It's not wise at all. At all. All right, let's move on to the next topic. We're going to talk about Fallout 4 DLC. Matt, I feel like we should have DLC for this game already.
Bethesda's always been a little sluggish when it came to the DLC to these big things. I don't remember when the first DLC for 3 came out in relation to its... Oh, you're losing your mic there a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't remember when the first DLC for 3 came out in relation to the release of the full game. But it feels okay. I mean, my only issue is, like, I'm not particularly interested in any of the DLC until May.
Yeah, because, all right, so let's start talking about it here.
Yeah.
The first DLC is called Automatron. It's coming in March. It's $10. Basically what it introduces is there's a new mechanic that's inserted into the world who builds robots.
Evil robots.
Evil robots. So you fight evil robots. You can also acquire a robot as your sidekick.
Like build your own.
And then you can collect parts to build that robot, personalize the robot, etc. $10.
It's really interesting how Fallout has sort of become Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts at this point.
You're right, it kind of has.
That was never really what I wanted out of my open-world apocalypse game. But, I mean, it's not a bad thing. I like the robots in the game. Can you tell I'm not really excited about this? Like, I don't care, really. It's cool.
Well, you weren't a big proponent of Fallout 4.
Fallout 4 did not do it for me, really. I think it was not the leap over 3 that Skyrim was over Oblivion, and I think the story is disappointing even by Bethesda standards. So I just didn't. It doesn't do anything for me. I played it for like 20 hours. I mean, it's not like I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I just And I meant to go back to it earlier this month, but then American Truck Simulator came out, and apparently I would rather drive down a fake
That's
Highway
what I'm
5
saying.
than...
Think about that.
Yeah.
You decided to play American Truck Simulator instead of finishing Fallout 4. That says a lot for the story in Fallout 4, by the way.
Yeah.
Not good things about the story.
I can tell you, maybe if you gave me a truck in Fallout 4.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing we should have mentioned right off the top, and what really kind of prompted us to discuss this, is that Bethesda decided that it was going to increase the price of the season pass.
This is super weird. They're already talking about that in the chat right now.
It went from...
This is the main thing everybody is saying.
It went from $30 to $50.
And you're like, what was the original plan?
Yeah,
then?
so here's the thing, too.
Second time that's happened recently with Dying Light.
It is. Dying Light did it like a month or two ago. And here's the thing. Any of you guys watching this live on the stream, if you're going to buy the season pass, you should go and buy it right now.
Like while we're doing this.
Because I believe the price goes up tomorrow.
I thought it was March 1st.
I thought it was tomorrow.
I think it's March 1st.
Okay. Well, if it is March 1st, and you're watching the archive of this on Sifted, you should make sure that you go and buy the season pass before the cutoff.
Someone in the chat, look it up and tell the chat what it actually is.
Yeah.
I read March 1st, but that may have been an error. Maybe, I don't know. And if it is, I got to buy it too.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. So we talked about the first pack. The second pack is even smaller. It's called Wasteland. It costs $5. It's coming in April. And basically all it does is give you new tools to build your settlements.
And trap creatures, and have like a Fallout 4 Pokemon pit fight thing.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's kind of building off that, like, where people would just spawn all the 1,000 death claws, or
right.
I guess that's building off that idea.
The mods may have actually created this idea.
Yeah, I think that may be true. I don't know. There's people that love the building in that game and consider it its own game, really, and I didn't really. It didn't really hook me in that regard. I thought it was just kind of annoying.
I thought it was just frivolous.
And but it's good that you gotta cater to everybody who's playing your
some
game.
people love Minecraft.
$5.
Some people don't like Minecraft. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Either you like building stuff in games or you don't.
I do like the mod that makes the head of the Minutemen leave you alone.
Yeah.
Until you talk to him. It's one of my favorite mods for Fallout 4. Is just okay, just stop bugging. Because there was a thing where you have to unless you immediately run away from him, you get the quest in your log and it never goes away unless you do it. And so if you don't want to get involved in that, you're sort of well, you're stuck now.
Yeah.
But it's cool they're supporting that idea. $5 is...
$5 is throwaway, typically, although, I don't know. Some people don't think $5 or $10 is a throwaway charge.
True. Well, certainly not when it's, we're slightly enhancing this thing that we... is there a reason that wasn't in the original game?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a rabbit hole I don't usually go down, but...
So the third pack is the one everyone is waiting for. It's called Far Harbor. It's $25 for DLC.
That's big.
So we add all this up here before we talk about Far Harbor.
I assume that's a pretty robust...
It is. So $25 for Far Harbor, $5 for Wasteland, that's $30, plus $10 for Automatron. There you're at $40.
Mm-hmm. So what's that extra $10?
Their original cost was only $30. And this isn't the last of the DLC. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Far Harbor quickly. Basically, it creates a whole new quest line for Valentine's Detective Agency that leads to a new island that you travel to. Mm-hmm. And on the island, there's synths, new children of Adam. It basically is like the first real story DLC. $25, Matt.
It makes me wonder, is that way more robust?
That's half of what you paid for the whole freaking game. Are we going to get 15 or 20 hours out of that DLC?
Maybe.
That's not really how
that's not how
worked.
They've rolled, although a couple of them were pretty long, although long also can translate into tedious. The Pit, anyone?
Yeah.
But, I don't know. The new Blood and Wine Witcher expansion is going to be 30 hours, they say. But, of course, that's $10.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I don't know what is happening here with that.
So
that's more than most game season passes.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. To just see these three things here. That stuff's not worth $40.
I wouldn't.
I don't even know how long Far Harbor is or how involved Far Harbor is, but $40 for this? That's a lot, man. So
Like Far Harbor would need to be like a whole other game.
Pretty much. Or at least like half of Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. Like, I would need to get half of what I got out of Fallout 4. Because the other part, too, is you've already invested in this. So, if you ask me for $30 for half of Fallout 4, I'm still going to say screw off, even though that makes sense, thinking about a $60 retail and half of that for $30. When I've already invested the money in the base game, I don't expect to keep paying the same rate for that same amount of playtime. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm crazy for thinking that way, but that's just what I've been conditioned to believe and think. Also, this part of Fallout 4, by the way, was the most annoying part of Fallout 4 for me. Like, I hated this part of the game, man. I had to try it like 5 times before I finally got through it. Anyway, I just... So here, let's go back to the fact that they changed the price of the Season Pass. So we can see already that individually, if you add these up, it's already more than the $30 they were originally asking. Which
is like, sometimes the Season Pass gets you like, $10 off the total.
Right.
Or something like that. Like, so maybe that was the original plan.
Right.
But they've got more. Or maybe Wasteland Workshop wasn't the original plan.
Or
and they've added that, and they've added a couple other like trinket-y things.
Or maybe Far Harbor ended up becoming bigger than they thought, and they thought they could get more money for it.
Like, that just seems like so much money, and like, especially for something where it's like, okay, the tools are in place, the engine, everything's there. You just have to make the content. It's basically like you're building new levels, and like you don't have to overhaul
you're
tons of stuff.
Cutting and pasting,
yeah. I mean, not that it doesn't take talent and time, but it's like $25.
Yeah. Yeah, and so...
Like, that's how much Firewatch costs.
Exactly, yeah. Well, Firewatch is only a couple hours.
A few hours, but you look at Firewatch and look at all the work that went into making it look like that, and do it. It's like, is it going to be as, robust in terms of an environment as that?
Right. Highly doubtful.
Probably.
Based upon
I mean, you'll be able to pick up a lot of pine cones, I'm sure. I'm wondering if they're going to, if there's going to be like the... I can't remember the name of it at Fallout 3, but there was the one... expansion that was basically like Lovecraft in like the swamps.
Oh yeah,
and
I
stuff.
remember that.
Like, I wonder if this is going to have any of that, because like
maybe
just the little screenshots I've seen, like in Far Harbor, and like it's kind of off in like some one of the maybe we might have some Innsmouth. Actually, I'd be into that.
Yeah,
some weird. I like to see it get real weird.
So I'm wondering too if they bumped up the prices of these individual DLC packs once they announced that the season pass was going to go up. So maybe originally Far Harbor was more reasonable, $15, but they're like, well, if we're going to ask for more money for the season pass, we need to make the individual components of the season pass more expensive so people can rationalize the increased cost. The other part of it too is that they're asking you for an extra $10 for the season pass above what's shown here. You have no idea what that extra $10 is going to get you. No idea at all. They haven't announced anything. So they're saying, you're going to get these 3. You're going to pay an extra $10 for something that could be another Wasteland, another $5 expansion. It's just like...
I'll tell you, I'm interested enough in Far Harbor that I probably will just buy it before March 1st and pay the $30, and save $20.
And I'm sure that's all part of the plan, too.
Probably.
Look, otherwise, they would have changed the cost of the season pass the day they announced it.
That would not have been good PR handling, though. There'd be backlash on that so hard.
But maybe their whole plan was we announce it, and then we set the date for it to switch like 2 weeks out, so that it just drives crazy amounts of subscriptions or revenue. Because look, personally, I'm kind of looking in this. I'm in this position
because all of a sudden you're saving $20.
Right. So everyone's talking about, I'm talking about trying to bring some of the guys from GT over, and to do that we would have to increase the annual subscription cost of Sifted, and so. I'm kind of in this position of, how do you go about doing that? Do you announce it and then immediately increase the price? Or do you announce it and say, you've got a week to pay the old price? What's more acceptable?
I think you got to give them a grace period.
Yeah.
I think the way they're doing it, and Dying Light.
But a lot of people might say, well, that's you trying to squeeze people to come and subscribe, threatening them with, well, in a week it's going to go up X amount of dollars. See what I'm saying? I don't think there's an easy answer.
There's no perfect solution.
Right.
But I, as a consumer, prefer it when, if the price hike's coming, you give me some warning and let me get in on that, on that better price at least one last time.
Yeah. Again, I'd be interested to hear comments.
I did it with Dying Light. I did buy the cheaper, before the price went up because I knew I wanted to play that. and I'll probably, it's only the price before March 1st is only $5 more than Far Harbor in general.
Right.
So, if they do, if they're
Which
going to do
it makes me really think that like they jack the price of that up.
$25 is a weird price for that. Like, it's a weird price for that kind of content expansion. Yeah. So yeah, you gotta wonder. I don't know. I mean, we don't know one way or the other what's happening inside over there. But it does. If that is what happened, that's a little slimy.
I mean, look, Bethesda could have data that is showing them people are bailing on this game quicker than they bailed on Skyrim or quicker than they bailed on Fallout 3, and so maybe they're like, people are leaving this game in droves. The DLC, the really good DLC, isn't going to be ready until May. Think about that. That is really late for a DLC, for the first like legit DLC.
So you think maybe like Automatron and Wasteland Workshop might be like, oh, we'll just get something out there.
Right,
like,
right. And so they're worried that maybe by the time May comes around and E3 is here and all the big games are starting to come out for 2016, that people are like, that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get people to buy it now. They really don't want people to buy it at $50. They just want people to buy it now at $30 because they're afraid later on no one's going to buy it. I don't know.
It's possible.
It's definitely possible.
Even plausible.
Maybe even more plausible than possible.
Yeah, I don't know. Because then you're looking at a season pass that's $10 less than the whole game.
Right.
And with that, because that's where it gets real weird, is like, that's not, I mean, obviously like Battlefront has a $50 season pass, Battlefield 4 had a $50 season pass, so it's not like crazy that a season pass would cost that, but when you're talking about a multiplayer-centric shooter versus a 200-hour RPG that you've paid $60 for, well, you're like, well, then if you are then going to charge me $50 for expansion content for that 200-hour RPG, why would I get only like 30 hours of content for $50 when I just got 200 hours for 60?
Yeah. The other thing too with shooters is like you get new maps and weapons. You could use those till the end of time.
Right. Whereas this content's going to be consumed and completed.
It's finite. Eventually, like, look, you can try to squeeze as much as you want out of it, but it is finite, and eventually you're going to come to a place where you quit playing. There are still people playing Black Ops 2. There's 10 million people a month playing Black Ops 2 online still. So, I don't know. Like the graphic says, moving goalposts. They're moving the goalpost.
And meanwhile, again,
while you're trying to kick the field
how many
goal.
times have we said it? Like, the worst thing about Fallout 4 is it came out the same year as The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
The Witcher 3 season pass is $20.
Yeah.
And it gives you about 50 hours of content between the two things.
Yep.
And that's not even including the 16 free things.
And like it or not, Bethesda is going to be held to that flame.
Yeah.
The people are going to look at The Witcher.
And Fallout 4 is made by a much smaller, or much larger and well-funded team and company than CD Projekt Red. So you got to wonder, like, what's the difference? What's the disparity here?
Are people going to care about Fallout 4 DLC in May? Are they going to care, Matt?
I don't know if I will.
I really liked Fallout 4 a lot.
I'll probably get to it. But
I don't know if I will. I mean, at that point, 2016 is going to be kicking us in the ass. There's going to be so many games to get through.
About to move into E3 season.
And look, Bethesda's...
And No Man's Sky is coming up, at which point I will disappear forever.
We will see about that one. But Bethesda's smart. And I just think that they're looking on down the road and they're like, we can't get this real DLC done until then. Like, we need to get people to pay for it now because...
And it's like a little disturbing because, like, if I recall correctly, I can't remember all the DLC expansions for Fallout 3, but if I remember correctly... similar to Skyrim, Bethesda's last DLC is usually the best DLC for a particular game.
You're right. Yeah, which is a shame.
Which inevitably ends up being the one nobody plays.
Right, exactly.
Because it takes so long.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, the last DLC for Fallout 3 was my favorite. I can't remember which one that was. Was it Mothership? The Mothership one? The Alien one?
Yeah, I think it was.
I think that was it. Yeah, and then... I really like the
Mothership Zeta. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's it. And then the final expansion, because there are only 3 for Skyrim, but the vampire thing was pretty cool.
Yeah,
vampire werewolf thing was pretty.
That's
cool.
where it really flipped it on its head.
And I mean, if Far
Which is
Harbor,
fine.
And stuff,
but the last one,
but if Far Harbor and stuff like this gets that crazy with it, like I'm into that. Like I want that. I want like Fallout 4. If anything, I thought had too little surprise to me. It was I'd played it before, and if Far Harbor and whatever follows it gives me some stuff that I'm just like, wow, you really took this and like, turn the kaleidoscope a quarter turn, and like now everything's like different. Like I'm super in on that. Like I'll make time to play it in May if it's something like that. I hope it is.
I highly doubt I'll be able to play it in May. I wish I could say I will be able to, but I don't see it.
I can't remember the schedule well enough to know what we're going to be playing in May.
Yeah,
frankly,
I'm just basing it on every year ever.
Yeah.
At that point,
hell, man, I'm playing Dying Light again with the following, and I never thought I'd go back to that game.
Right.
Sometimes
that was released in March of last year? Is that right?
February last year.
February, yeah.
Right before we started our first GameFace.
Right.
That came like a week or two before that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you never know. Like, if it's quality content, I will make time for it to go back and play it again, and I just hope that's the case here. And I would hope that that's the case in why you're charging $25 goddamn for it.
For one piece of it,
yeah.
All right, time to move on to the next topic of the Big Six. Actually, this is a story that's twofold. So, the first thing that happened was one of Sony's European executives, who was basically the head of PlayStation VR in Europe, stepped down. I think it was 5 days ago. Mm-hmm. Which is really weird, because you're like, okay, you're the head of PlayStation VR in Europe, and the thing launches in like 3 months.
Yeah, maybe you could just hold on for a few months in terms of consumer confidence.
And you're leaving.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people may have seen that and just been like, oh, somebody left, you got another job. No, as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's weird.
No, that's very weird.
There's something, that's a red flag to me.
Yeah.
And so then...
Usually in that situation, you'd at least, especially at a high level like that, you'd at least be like, some deal will be cut where it's like, hey, at least like just stick around until we get the product out on shelves, and like, just to keep up appearances, and something would have been worked out.
Yeah.
It's weird that someone that high level in this project would disappear right before you're about to throw it at us.
Yep. And then 2 days ago, GameStop, good old GameStop, second only to LinkedIn in leaking video game related
and Amazon
stuff.
Germany.
Right.
Amazon Germany does that a lot too.
GameStop's, I think it was the CEO or some executive at GameStop said that PlayStation VR is not coming out until Q4 of this year. Originally announced to be coming out in Q2 or around April, May timeframe, basically right before E3 type deal. Matt, is this like a death knell for PlayStation VR? Because, look, we don't know yet. Vive is also saying Q2, 2016. We do know Oculus is coming out. Is it going to be a case of too little, too late for PlayStation VR in Q4?
I think that's what that was going to be no matter when they launched it.
Really?
I don't think the PlayStation 4 can do the level of visual fidelity for VR that people are going to be expecting. Like, people are going to be expecting to play stuff like The Last of Us in VR. It's just not going to happen.
No.
Like,
they could pull off The Last of Us on PlayStation 3 in VR. It couldn't pull off, the remaster probably in VR.
I mean, but you got this thing, we've already had to deal with the fact that the PlayStation 4, while it is more powerful than the Xbox One marginally, it's still pretty underpowered. It can't do 1080p on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So, the idea that you want this thing to do games that can't even run at that level, now you want it to run them twice.
Yeah.
One for each eye at a high frame rate, because a low frame rate or a sketchy frame rate is going to mess with your brain. And it's got to be a high resolution as possible. You're gonna end up with last gen games, basically. Equipped
you've seen some of the games,
the
100-Foot Robot Golf, the Zombie Taxi Company. Look, they're not graphically mind-blowing.
No,
games.
they're not. But what I'm saying is, the Oculus and the Vive, is it?
Yeah.
That stuff's running on moderate to high end PCs, and those are going to look really good.
Yeah.
And then in contrast, the PlayStation VR is basically going to be a Kinect.
Yeah.
That you're going to pay a lot more for than you paid for Kinect. I mean, and people talk about, oh my God, why isn't even I talked about No Man's Sky, why wouldn't that be in VR? Well, because I don't think it can run it.
Yeah, I'm really starting to wonder if that's the case, to be honest with you. I mean, look, some of the games for PlayStation VR look pretty good. Riggs looks pretty good on a technical level. There's a couple that, London Heist I feel like looks pretty good. The bigger factor here is, Matt, people are not going to be able to afford to buy every VR helmet. They're just
you gotta make a choice.
I can't afford it. Like, right now, I'm sitting here, my birthday just passed, and my wife is like, what do you want for your birthday? And, like, I'm at a point in my life where I don't really want, like, anything anymore. Like, I have a car, I have a place to sleep at night, and I have video game consoles. Like, I'm very simple. Like, the older I get, the less I care about frivolous things like buying a new pair of shoes or whatever. Like, I don't really...
He's not even wearing shoes.
Yeah, I'm barefoot right now, Fred Flintstone style. That's how I got here. I yabba dabba dude over here. So, I don't really care about, like, a lot of stuff. My wife's like, what do I get you anymore? I'm like, well, there is one thing I want. Like, I want a VR helmet. And she's like, well, okay, like, that's really expensive. And I was like, yes,
okay,
it is.
Ender. What do you
Right. And I'm like, so, well, what about if we split it? And, like, you pay for half and then I pay for the other half. And she's like, that's still really expensive for a birthday present. And then I reminded her what I got her for her birthday. And, no. So basically, I'm in a position where I'm not going to buy them all. And by the looks of it, I'm not getting any of them free. No one from Oculus has reached out to us and said that they're sending us one. So I'm in a position where I have to decide which one I want. Like, and I'm really, like, thinking about getting Oculus.
Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, I think Oculus...
I want Vive. Here's what I'll say. I want Vive. Because I know Vive is the best experience, but I think it's going to cost, like, $800 or $900.
Yeah. I think Oculus is going to be the PlayStation 2 of this race. Basically, maybe it's not the most powerful, maybe not the cutting edge tech compared to some of the competitors, but I think it's the one that's going to have the support.
It's going to have the most content.
And in terms of PlayStation VR, it's like, why would you pick the one that's like stuck in what would be the equivalent of a walled garden? You know, like that's going to only work on Sony consoles, and it's only going to work with the stuff Sony can make work with it. Whereas like the Oculus is going to have, you have the whole realm of PC-dom laid out in front of you. With that and the Vive.
Makes the argument that to run VR, and he said this several times on Pactor Factor, you need a GPU and a CPU. And that a lot of people don't have GPUs and CPUs strong enough in their PC to run VR, which is totally true. But everybody who owns a PlayStation 4 has a CPU and a GPU capable of running VR. Granted, it's not to the level of what you get with Oculus or Vive.
Do they also have a PlayStation Eye? Do they also have a Move controller? I mean, there's all this extra stuff. Because that's the thing is, like, you look, those little on the leaks where it's showing like, it costs like $400 and whatever for the PlayStation VR. It's like, yeah, but that's just a headset. It's not the bundle. It's like 100 something, 200 more.
You get the headset and you get that piece of hardware that looks the size of like a Wii.
Yeah, a little video boxy thing. I don't know what that is. But you also need the camera, and you also need, you need the controllers for it.
Do you need the PlayStation Eye?
I understand it.
I thought you didn't.
I think.
But if you're going to use Move, I think if you're going to use anything that uses the Move controllers, you have to have the camera.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this stuff is using that.
Oh, you're right. And I think maybe even the headset has those blue lights across the top
for the eye. How it knows where you're moving your head.
I think you're right, yeah.
So there's a lot more to this that you're going to end up spending about $600 on this thing.
I bought the Eye at launch. Maybe I would finally use it for something.
I have the Eye. No, I don't have.
It's been sitting unplugged next to my PlayStation 4.
I don't have the PS4 Eye.
Yeah.
So I'd have to buy a whole new. I don't see anything on that except for Ace Combat. I love Ace Combat. I would play Ace Combat.
I wouldn't be shocked if Ace Combat eventually comes to Oculus and Vive either, though.
True. I just don't. It's a stupid human trick right now for me. It's not going to change how I play anything.
Is this going to screw PlayStation VR? I mean, is it going to doom it to failure?
I don't know. I'm not really expecting much out of PlayStation VR in terms of whether it came out in Q2 or Q4. I don't think people want to spend another $600. I don't think people think the PlayStation 4 experience is a $1,000 experience.
Yeah.
You've already spent $400 for this thing. Now you want $400 more for this headset and maybe more for the Move controllers and the camera. Like, that's crazy, especially in this economy. And
I think Nintendo is praying to God that this isn't true. Because, look, I still don't think NX is coming this year, and there's been rumors over the last week saying it is, it isn't, blah, blah, blah. I still don't think it is. Even so, even if NX comes out in the first quarter of next year, Nintendo doesn't want any part of that. It doesn't want any part of PlayStation VR, because the install base already of PlayStation 4, and by then will be even bigger. And you're trying to get some of those people who own a PlayStation 4 to make the NX their second console. And if you're trying to do that at the same time that PlayStation comes out with their VR helmet, and the NX is just a console, which who knows what it's going to be. It could be something crazy, awesome, who knows.
I don't know.
If it is just a console...
I don't see no VR Zelda in PlayStation VR.
Yeah. That would be really bad for Nintendo, but I also think it'd be really bad for Sony.
It'd dilute both things.
Because here's the thing: when Oculus comes out, the games are going to be rough at first. We know that, but over time they're going to get better, and so
that's the thing about Oculus, though, is I feel like once you get Oculus, you're probably not going to have to replace it anytime soon, or if I had some more...
Because it's built for PC.
Right. And like the PC will evolve with it, whereas the the PlayStation 4 is kind of trapped in what it is. And like maybe the next, I would hope the PlayStation 5 would also support PlayStation VR should it be successful.
I'm assuming that they're building PlayStation VR to be able to move from one generation to the next.
But is that, is it, I'm not familiar, intimately with the specs of the hardware on the VR, like are the monitors in the thing high-res enough to handle like a 4K system next gen?
Not 4K.
Well, then what do you even think?
But you don't need 4K when the screen is that close to your eye, though.
True, but it's just like I feel like this stuff is all so early and rough. The Oculus seems like the smarter move to me on every conceivable level.
I'm really starting to lean that way, to be honest.
And I don't want. I mean, I should point out, I probably am not going to buy a VR headset.
I definitely am. I'm just trying to figure out which one it's going to be.
So,
you totally feel free to.
But like, if someone held a gun to my head and said you have to buy one of these three things, I would buy an Oculus sight unseen, basically.
Yeah.
For one thing, the Oculus is the one I've used that I was most impressed by.
Yeah. Vive is way better. Like, yeah. You haven't played it yet, or you would know. You would not say that.
I believe you, but it's like. I just, the most powerful thing doesn't usually win in this industry.
No, you're right.
It's usually the
rarely
best supported.
It's
all about the library.
Again, back to something Pachter says all the time about Nintendo. It's like until Nintendo gets third-party support, it's going to be fighting an uphill battle, and that's the truth. So, I don't know. I'm still on the fence.
Yeah, I'm standing back and waiting to see how the fight goes.
I mean, honestly, once I see the price of Vive, that's when I'll pull the trigger. I mean, right now, I would say there's really zero chance of me making PlayStation VR the one that I buy. Mm-hmm. The first one I'm going to buy is probably going to be either Oculus or Vive. And then if Sony comes in at a reasonable price, then that would maybe be something I add as like my second, which seems insane. I'm buying my second VR. Virtual reality headset.
But some people would say that about game consoles in general as well. And in this situation, in this VR equation, Sony is Nintendo.
Yeah. You're right, it is. It's like walled off in this...
Do you want to play that Mario game? Do you want to play that Zelda game? Do you want to play Splatoon? Get a Wii U.
Yeah. Well, in Sony's case, it's going to be like, do you want to play The Last of Us 2 in VR?
I don't think that's going to happen.
What would that make you cave, Matt, if The Last of Us 2...
Well, no, because I don't really like The Last of Us all that much. Well, but like, I don't think The Last of Us 2 could... I don't think the PlayStation VR can... I don't think the system can run 2 screens of that game to do
Don't they just use the engine they built the PlayStation 3 version on?
You think the people... Yeah, but that's going to disappoint people who just want to play the game.
People are going to be disappointed. Yeah, you're right. People are going to be disappointed, I think, in the visuals in PlayStation VR games, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure.
They're going to look at their PlayStation 4 and be like, why does this game look like crap?
The Last of Us was one of the lushest games of the end of last generation. Yeah. People are expecting the sequel to be the equivalent for this generation. It's probably in Naughty Dog's best interest to not hamstring that game's visuals by trying to make it work in VR. I don't think anyone cares about VR.
I think people would still buy it, and it could be the killer app for PlayStation VR, though.
I don't think that's going to happen.
This is all bullcrap, by the way.
Absolutely.
This is not happening. Like, they're still trying to get Uncharted done, and we're saying they're going to release The Last of Us 2 at the end of the year. So, delaying this...
I'll tell you what would get me to buy a PlayStation VR, or any VR. I mean, you put this on any... Okay, you come back and be like, hey, we're doing X-Wing, TIE Fighter, or we're doing like Rogue Squadron.
Right.
And we're doing it on this.
Cockpit,
it's exclusively on PlayStation VR. Well, you can take my money right now.
Yeah.
That's it. That's about the only thing I can think of.
Getting back on topic, I think the big issue for Sony, if they really do delay PlayStation VR to Q4, is the comparison. Mm-hmm. You're going to have 7 months of people experiencing Oculus, for sure, possibly Vive. Mm-hmm. And then 7 months down the road, here comes PlayStation VR.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Like, so let's say Q4. So let's say it comes out like early November, right? Like right around there, right around Call of Duty time.
Yeah.
So now you're going to have had the Oculus in the news for about 4 or 5 months. People are going to be talking about it. People are going to, that's so expensive. It's very expensive, but it's cool.
You're also going to have the crazy YouTube videos of people, the reaction video. I mean,
so what if
it's going to turn into a huge deal?
But what if now you go to the store or Best Buy or Walmart or whatever, and you see PlayStation VR? PlayStation VR is only about $450. That's like way cheaper than Oculus, and we can have this VR experience. It's Christmas. It's impulse buy time. It's like, let's get a PlayStation VR. It could work in their favor.
That's its only chance.
That's the only chance it has, yeah. But what I'm saying is,
but it needs to come in at like $350.
It needs to be, it's substantially less than the Oculus.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already seeing unsubstantiated, but rumors of people saying, PlayStation VR could be $800. I'm just like, well, that's crazy.
That'd be dead
crazy
in the water. Talk. Yeah, I don't think that's true at all.
But
Sony's not that stupid. Although they did release a $600 PlayStation 3.
but it comes down to this whole thing where it's like, if Oculus is telling the truth, and there's no reason to think they aren't, that they're selling at or below cost. Can Sony afford to do that? Vive clearly doesn't care. Like, they don't want to, or they can't because they cost. They cost more than the Oculus does.
Yeah. You also have to install things like on your ceiling for Vive. Like, it's
Vive,
like you're installing
Vive
like a surround. It is, but it's worth the commitment. Like, the experience is so much better than. Well, I would say both. Yeah, like significantly. But I also think that's going to play out in a significantly higher price for it, which is why we probably haven't heard anything about the price for Vive yet.
Well, I think it's interesting we haven't heard anything about the price for PlayStation VR either.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me says they're still talking.
Maybe they're waiting, trying to get the components cheaper to build it cheaper, because they're realizing that...
Crunching the numbers, seeing if they can get away with selling it like maybe a little below.
Because like it or not, people are going to look at PlayStation VR as an accessory for the PlayStation 4. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
No one's going to be like, no, I look at this as a new system. No one's going to say that. Like, no, I already bought the system. I spent $400 or whatever I spent for this. Like, this should be cheaper than the base system. And if they can't get that thing to $350, $299, so maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're like, okay, well, we can get the components down a little bit. Maybe we can get the price down another $100 if we wait till the end of the year. I don't know. Or maybe they just don't feel like they have the software lineup yet to launch it, which I would probably agree with 1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only play so much Eve Valkyrie.
And
I am sick, by the way, of playing Eve Valkyrie, because every time you check out PlayStation VR, they're like, here's Eve Valkyrie, because that's the one game that you play that it doesn't look bad. And a lot of that is because it's set in space. So you don't have to build a whole world out of polygons. You just, whatever ships are in space, throw a bitmap behind them, you're done.
Yep.
So it gets away with things that normal games wouldn't get away with. So I can't see any situation, unless the price ends up being significantly cheaper, where this is a good thing for PlayStation VR for it to be delayed to the end of the year.
Certainly not a good sign, probably.
No. Lots of head shaking going on episode 37 of GameFace.
Yeah, I don't know. We're
puzzled this week, man.
We're confused. We're cynical.
We're bewildered. I'm not even cynical. I can't figure out the strategy behind a lot of this stuff.
I don't know how much of it is strategy and how much of it is just, reality running headlong into your battle plans.
That could be. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I thought here's the thing. GDC typically is VR. Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's where the developers get their hands on it. That's where the platform holders try to convince the developers to work on their platforms. I really thought that GDC once again would be a big year for PlayStation VR. Now I'm really starting to wonder. I even thought maybe they might announce the price of PlayStation VR at GDC and the release date. But now,
I think you're really going to run into problems if that thing costs more than the PlayStation 4.
Oh yeah, I'd agree.
And remember, the PlayStation 4 is $350 now with the bundle.
Yep, with a bundle. Yeah. With like a game and all that.
And if you're going to, how do you convince the average consumer that your glorified 3D glasses are worth more than what they paid for the console?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough sell. So we'll see. I mean, it could happen at GDC that Sony just comes out and does announce the price and the launch date, and all this was a bunch of bullcrap. But I would be surprised if that's the case. Because Sony hasn't come out and said that, no, that's not true. And they lost an executive who was one of the leaders of the project. So
I think we're not going to hear a price till E3. And that's if we're lucky.
Yeah. That's what I would guess. Price and release date at E3. But I thought the thing was going to be out before then. So
$599 US.
That would be insane. It's not happening, Matt. I don't believe it. All right, let's move on to the next topic. We're going to talk about our old friends at a studio that is notorious for trying to drum up controversy. That game is Destructive Creations, appropriately named, I might add. And their last game was called Hatred. If you guys don't remember Hatred, it was basically this completely vapid, isometric, third-person shooter that followed a serial killer.
Yeah. Diablo with people.
As he relentlessly killed everybody. Civilians, cops, whatever. He was just on a rampage to kill everything and anything.
Really Postal.
It read like the diary of like the two kids that were behind Columbine. Like that was the vibe I got from this game, and you can see it here. We're showing it right now. So basically, what they did was they
Nothing
created
in the budget for color, apparently.
Yeah, they created this game that created a huge uproar and all this controversy. The trailers for it, the first ones that they released, were just completely depraved and disgusting. And basically, they got a ton of free marketing out of it. It got a lot of people looking at the game. It got everybody doing Let's Plays of the game. You know, this was just like a little indie release, but you saw all the major outlets doing live streams with the game. And granted, every live streamer like, this game sucks. It's a piece of crap. It's nothing special. But it got them to play it in the first place, which people probably wouldn't have touched the game if it was just a typical isometric twin-stick shooter that didn't have this depraved content. So that leads to this week. And this week, Destructive Creations, again, aptly named.
I like it when people call them the Hatred developers.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good name, too.
Yeah, well, they're kind of the same, isn't it? Destructive Creations.
Yeah.
They announced a new game this week, and this game is called ISIS Defense, or IS Defense.
IS Defense.
But it really is ISIS Defense. So essentially, this game, and you're seeing it right now, is a shooter that takes place entirely from behind turrets. And basically what you do is you just mow down ISIS fighters,
who are inexplicably invading a beach.
Yeah, it looks like they're storming Normandy.
They're storming southern Europe somehow.
Yeah, well, they don't have boats, so I wonder how that would be possible. Look, we're not talking about this for its historical accuracy.
Where'd they get Humvees from? What the hell is that?
Well, they steal ours after we leave them behind, but that's actually one part of it that is kind of realistic. They do have Humvees, but
Humvees that can drive across the Mediterranean.
Right, yeah.
It's very impressive.
Exactly, yeah. So here's the thing about this. One, this is kind of a topic that I think for games might be a little taboo.
Yeah, well,
It's cathartic. Look,
ask Fugitive Hunter about that.
Right.
Roundhouse kicking Osama bin Laden into a Black Hawk helicopter.
Exactly, yeah. So it might be a little bit touchy. Look, it's going to be totally cathartic for people to be able to just mow down ISIS.
Yeah, I'm not going to say this game doesn't have an audience.
No, yeah. I mean, look. That's the thing. This will sell way better than Hatred. I guarantee it. Once this starts, and I'm surprised no one else has talked about this game this week. Like, the trailer came out, nobody really mentioned it or thought about how messed up it was. As soon as I saw it, I was like, what the? So here's the thing. It's going to be cathartic to mow down ISIS. Everybody's going to want to do it. I want to do it. Matt, you'll probably want to do it.
I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know if I want to do it to in the sense of giving money to these guys.
Right, because they're pretty much scumbags. But here's the angle that I wonder if this studio thought about is making themselves a target.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about Charlie Hebdo in France.
Where are these guys? Do we know?
Poland.
Oh. I was going to say if you're in America, you're probably okay, but
maybe. I mean, think about what happened in San Bernardino. Like,
I don't think that was ISIS related.
Well, it was ISIS related. These people thought they were a part of ISIS. ISIS was just like whatever. But here's the thing: like, these people are working in Poland on this game. Like, would you work on this game, Matt?
No, but that's because I wasn't all that big of a fan of Incoming in the first place. So
right. But I'm just saying,
it's a lame. You know, I mean, it looks better than Hatred in terms of graphical fidelity, at least. But it's just like another, outrage sells. You can, look how bad we are by making another like controversial game about modern events kind of thing. It's not the kind of thing I would want to be known for.
Look, I'm not talking about like, would you want to be known for it? I'm talking about like, would you want to go to work in that office every day and eventually have to walk out of that office at night?
It's probably not as safe as making Mafia 3.
Yeah, I would say that for sure. I mean, look, these guys, these whack jobs, killed a bunch of people for drawing cartoons, Matt.
Well, yeah, but
how do you think they're going to react when they see this trailer of hordes of them getting mowed down with chain guns?
Well, there's nothing in the Quran about not mowing down these guys with chain guns. There is something about not doing a visual depiction of Muhammad. That's why there was such a...
Look, they don't... Look, are you really going to say... Oh,
I am going to say that because that is an
actual... Because the Quran doesn't say it? Those guys don't care about the Quran. The Quran doesn't tell them to indiscriminately kill people.
But that's the excuse. That's the in they have to get people whipped up into that kind of a frenzy. You don't have any... The fact that people want to kill ISIS...
What in do they have to rape women and, like, murder innocent people? There's nothing in the Quran that says that. Like, you can't... These guys are psychos, Matt, and it's like, it's not just a couple of them. Like, they've managed to create, like, 20,000 psychopaths who will do whatever their leader tells them to do. I mean, it has nothing to do with the Quran. The Quran teaches peace. Like, they've perverted their religion to convince these people to do things like kill themselves for nothing. Is it really that hard to believe that they can't convince a few people online in Poland to go over to the offices of this developer and do something crazy? Like, dude, I would never work on this game. Ever.
I will be surprised if that happens.
Really?
Yes. I don't think anyone would even necessarily know about this. I don't think it's as big as enough that anybody would care. But
really? You don't think ISIS would care about this game?
I don't think it's on the level of an internationally circulated satirical magazine like Charlie Hebdo, no.
I don't know.
Especially because, like, I think if it was maybe more racist, or if it had more like caricatures going on, or more like depictions of ISIS leaders or something like that. Like,
well, we don't know what's in the game yet.
Well,
they
right.
only put out this 1 minute.
I mean, maybe there's some cutscenes in here that's just nothing but cartoons of Muhammad, and they're blown.
Let's stop a second and think about this is Destructive Creations, by the way, who made Hatred.
Yeah, I mean, there could be some crazy stuff in there.
Right.
Clearly, they think it's worth the risk. I don't know what...
I think they're insane. I think they are completely insane for doing this. And look, I don't want to ever say that anything should be censored. Ever. Well, there are certain things.
Well, that wouldn't be... Not doing it is not censoring it. You're just
right.
deciding, maybe I won't run into traffic.
No, I'm just saying, personally, I'm not saying you shouldn't make games like this.
Right.
Like, you should be censored. You should be allowed to make games like this. I'm just saying, one, for their safety, I think it's a terrible idea. But two, I also think... just as a general philosophy within video games, that it's a really bad idea as well, because you're poking the beehive, you're poking the bear. It's like, we don't need more crappy news reporting about video games. Like, what happens, like, if they do something stupid and they're like, that's because of that stupid ISIS defense game, and we're coming for them next. Like,
Fox News is going to love this game.
Right. Fox News doesn't count when you're talking about stuff like this, though. I mean, let's be honest. It's poking the bear. It's sticking the stick in the hornet's nest. It's like, and it's just, all it's going to do is just draw negative attention to the gaming industry.
It's also mainly because they used IS, right?
Well,
if they were just like a generic terrorist organization that happened to come from there,
right,
it would not be quite the same thing.
Well, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not just in the title. I mean, if you look at the trailer, like they call them ISIS, like the.
Well, I mean, that is. I mean, Islamic State. That's what IS stands for. It's.
I just cannot see any way where this is a good idea. I mean, first of all, it doesn't look like a great game to play. It's just a generic like tripod shooter.
Right, but it's like they're going to get basically free marketing out of this. That's why they think it's a good idea.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think at the end of the day it may end up being free. Like, if they have to pay with something other than money for this, like, they could end up paying a really heavy cost for trying... And look, I think it's also a little scummy to try to capitalize on something like ISIS in a video game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this...
Like you said...
They should just change the name of the studio to, like, Scum Studios. Like,
I don't think that... Like you say, I don't think they should be stopped from making it, but, like... It would be interesting to delve into the mentality of someone who thinks this is a good idea, who thinks this is a wise risk. I mean, I don't think it's likely that there's anything is going to happen to him, but it's not a non-zero chance by any means. Literally any other game you could make would not carry that risk.
Right. Any game. And even
just Hatred 2.
You're right. Even if this was like an Al Qaeda game, if it was like Al Qaeda Defense, like I wouldn't feel as nervous for these guys as I feel for them right now, because I legitimately feel
like Homefront, North Korea defense or something. There's no like you're probably not going to get targeted by North Korean agents on that one.
I mean, these are the people that are irrational enough.
They're crazy enough to actually do it.
Yeah. Because doing it is nothing. Because they have whack jobs that follow them on Twitter or whatever. They just send out a message. They're like, hey, look at this game, IS Defense. It's made by this team in Poland. That's all they have to do. Mm-hmm. That's the edict. And some crazy whack job in Poland, or 2 or 3 of them, go down to the office. I don't know, man.
You play with fire.
Really, really bad decision.
You play with fire, you get burned.
That's what I'm saying.
So, I don't think it's as likely as you seem to think it is, but it could happen.
I think it could definitely happen, and
that'll be a great story for the news to pick up about the industry.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's all bad. Like, look, I don't wish Destructive Creations any harm whatsoever.
At the same time, the Charlie Hebdo thing didn't exactly ruin political cartooning forever. So I mean, I don't think anyone would blame the industry.
But nobody ever goes after cartoons like they go after video games. Like, I just saw...
Not anymore.
I just saw a thing yesterday with Penn Jillette. He went on one of these corny, middle-aged women, daytime talk shows. And he was trying to explain video games to these women, like Call of Duty. And they were just oblivious, dude. They're just like, you kill people in the video game... Why wouldn't you think that it makes people kill people in real life? Like, that's just the mentality that these people are on, Matt. And I just...
Well, then I guess we should get real worried about anyone who reads a book about adultery.
Yeah. Well, books are okay. Movies are okay because you're not doing it. These mainstream people, that's how they look at it. They're like, you're doing it in a video game, so that could lead your behavior to do it in the real world, which is... we all talk about this.
Look, I'm just saying I learned a lot more about kinky sex from Stephen King books than anything else in my, okay? Like, you can walk into a Barnes & Noble and buy, all this stuff where some crazy shit happens and no one looks twice at you.
It's a book.
Like, you're 8 years old and you want to buy Rose Madder? No problem. Have fun, kid. Gerald's Game? No problem, son. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're at the whipping post for popular media. They always point to us. When something goes wrong, they're always like, well, was there video games involved? Did they play video games? Like, nobody goes, did they read books? No one asks you, they read the anarchist, cookbook or whatever.
Did he watch movies? I bet he watched movies.
Yeah, I mean, nobody does that. But they do it with games every time.
I mean, there was a time when Catcher in the Rye was the thing that caused people to assassinate people.
Well, that was...
But that was
a century ago.
Well,
half a century.
Lifetime ago.
Yeah, a lifetime ago.
But I mean, let them. To some degree, part of me is just okay, keep talking, people. Who cares? It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's not like the '90s where Tipper Gore and these people were they had a chance to really put a chilling censorship effect on like with the having a label, the explicit lyrics stuff. There was a time when there was that worry of if
Tipper Gore.
Yeah, if it breaks the wrong way, this industry, which is a fledgling at the time, really could be in serious trouble. It was and I think it's past that point.
I agree. It's not going to destroy the industry.
And it's like and I don't think it's even going to affect it. I think it's just people have to go on, a couple people have to go on talk shows and be like, no, this is not what video games are. And
I don't know, Matt. The tide is turning a little bit in America. I mean, we have a presidential candidate that's pretty out there, and he's got a decent amount of support. There's some people out there that aren't thinking so clearly right now.
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to... those people are probably big fans of Call of Duty. I think we're okay.
But here's the thing. It's once ISIS gets involved with the gaming industry... I can't believe I just said that, by the way.
I don't know if that would be... that's really involved with the gaming industry.
Well, once games become a part of the ISIS story... Maybe that's the way I should have phrased it. Then everything changes, man. It's not just about... Jeff Keighley going on Fox News and arguing about Mass Effect nudity anymore. Instead, you're talking about people that may or may have lost their lives over a video game that they made.
Just people that lost their lives
over
a cartoon they drew. I mean,
right, and there was huge uproar over that.
But it wasn't an uproar about whether people should draw cartoons. It was an uproar about how crazy these fuckers are.
I don't know.
It's just another brick in the crazy wall.
I don't want to repeat what I just said before about how video games are treated differently in the media, but they are, and people don't look at...
I am going to come down on the prediction that should that happen, and I hope it doesn't, because I don't think these guys make great games, but I don't think they deserve to die for it. I am going to predict that people are going to hate ISIS more than they hate video games.
Well, yeah.
And so people are going to, if anything, it could be the other way around. It could be these poor video game developers being targeted by these horrible monsters for just making a game.
I don't know. I think a lot of people would say they asked for it.
Well, victim blaming is a big thing right now,
Yes, it
especially
is.
on the internet.
Yep.
But I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is these guys are really stupid to do this. Like, are you that desperate to have a hit that you would put yourselves and your families?
Apparently the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't understand. I couldn't
Coming out
imagine
of the
working
same country
there.
as The Witcher.
Right.
Talk about two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't imagine working at the studio. You had just finished Hatred. Think about that. Which was basically got vilified in reviews after generating all this fake buzz because of its
I was hoping
content.
they'd just like move on to like different negative emotions.
Right.
You know, like, next up from the developers of Hatred, jealousy,
Loathing.
gluttony, just a Pac-Man
Just
clone.
sit and eat.
Slow. This
But
game's
imagine
boring.
that. You come off Hatred where you're probably not exactly all that proud of what you just worked on. You're like, I got a job in the games industry. I'm not really proud to say that the first game I shipped was Hatred, but we did ship a game. And then your boss comes in, he's like, I have an idea for our next game.
I got it.
I got it. It's gonna... I don't know, man. I think it's just a terrible idea from pretty much every angle
Well, I
that
look
could have
forward-
huge repercussions far beyond what these developers ever imagined.
Well, I hope not, because I look forward to their third game, Trump Wars.
That would have been a smarter project.
Yeah.
You had zero chance of getting killed over that one. Well, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say zero, but...
Not necessarily zero, but it's like, I don't know, like an action, like kind of action shooter, like violent thing where it's like, you know, interpretation of like Trump's campaign.
And the whole object is to make the world great again.
Yeah, make America great. We're not about the world there. Let's
Just
not
America.
go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of the world's all commies. You know?
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's move on. We don't want to get too political here on GameFace. Move on to the next topic. So, basically, it was announced this week what we all expected, and that is that Assassin's Creed is taking a year off. So, that was announced, like, I think end of week last week, and then today there was, like, a meeting with investors that Ubisoft had where their CEO said, well, it may not ever go back to a yearly cycle. It may be a 2-year cycle or whatever, sporadically, whenever we feel like it's worth releasing again.
You got to fit Watch Dogs 2 in there somewhere.
Well, yeah, so that's the other thing. They announced that Watch Dogs 2 coming out before March 31st of 2017. So that's coming in the next year or so. Matt, is there any saving Assassin's Creed at this point?
Sure.
You think so?
I love Assassin's Creed.
I mean, look.
And Syndicate was really
There's
good.
a lot of games that would kill to have the sales Syndicate had.
Yeah.
I mean,
Syndicate
it
was-
still sold millions of copies.
Right. And it was great. It was I think it's probably the third best Assassin's Creed, I would say. And I played them all.
Yeah.
I love that series, but it does need to take a break. It does need to really reevaluate what it wants to be, as opposed to just reiterating the same gameplay tropes over and over again. And it needs to like conglomerate or start over on its story, because the series has wandered since 3. Like whatever the modern, like, you know, they've told pretty good stories in the times in the, you know, the historical, you know, time periods, but like there's always that modern angle. And as much as I love
They
Sean,
kind of bailed on pretty
yeah,
much.
as much as I love Sean, you know, keep Sean Hastings writing the encyclopedia entries, because that's one of my favorite things, because he's such a snarky dude.
Yeah.
But like clearly they have no idea where they're going with the modern day stuff anymore. Like it's like Juno got released and Minerva's around there somewhere, and the internet is possessed by an ancient alien, and some of these guys are trying to stop these other guys, and there's like these guys from the comic books that keep popping up in the games, and I don't know anymore. But like clearly whatever original story you were planning to tell is out the window, so maybe it's time to just pull it all back and start over. And it sounds like that might be what they're going to do with this ancient Egypt thing.
Well, they've been mentioning that they're using The Witcher as inspiration, so it could be turning into more of an action RPG type game.
That'll be interesting. Because, Assassin's Creed is kind of feels, if you compare it to something like The Witcher, feels like it's in a lot of different boxes, as opposed to The Witcher, which feels more organic.
Right.
I wonder how much of that box-oriented structure is kind of related to its popularity. Because I wonder, The Witcher did very well, but the fan base for Assassin's Creed is definitely there. It sells. People talk about it. People go on about it. Like,
But
people
I didn't
love
really
it.
get that vibe from Syndicate, though. I mean, I know on Sifted, like...
Dude, Syndicate.
After the first...
Syndicate's characters have huge followings in the fandom. Like Evie and Jacob are big
Really?
hits. I don't know about, oh yeah.
I mean, I like them in the game.
I think they're
Fine.
great characters. But like, they're constantly talked about still on Tumblr and Twitter. I mean, it still goes on and on. I mean, maybe it didn't translate into sales, but like, you know, the audience is there for those characters and they love them. And I think we've talked about it before. I think Unity did serious harm to that. You know, a lot of people decided to play wait and see with Syndicate because of Unity.
Yeah.
And I think Syndicate is great. And if you're waiting on Syndicate, if you like Assassin's Creed, you should play Syndicate, because Syndicate is, you know, after Brotherhood and Black Flag, I'd say it's, you know, one of the best.
See, I think the series is in deep crap. I think that it would take something revolutionary to get people back to it. Because I don't think it's just a matter of people being upset that Unity was buggy and kind of broken. I think people are just kind of tired of the series and everything about it. Like the gameplay, the plot, you can only ask so much. And when you've released a game in a series, think about it. Like, people aren't tired of Mario yet. Well, some people are. I'm kind of tired of side-scrolling Mario games. But you know what? Mario 3D games, I'm not tired of them yet. Most people aren't. But that's because they come out once every, 4 or 5 years. Like, do you realize that Assassin's Creed has already released more games than there are 3D Mario games? Think about that. I just think people...
They all kept selling until Unity tanked that stuff. I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence. Unity sold very, very well, and all of a sudden Syndicate drops because people had a bad experience with Unity. And the other thing that's brought up a problem is I think the historical settings of those games are one of the things that really sell them, and they're getting closer. They've been getting closer and closer to modern day, and I think that's less interesting.
Yeah. I just think people are burnt out on the whole thing, man. I think
that's an awful coincidence if the game that was like a technical disaster.
No, I think that's part of it.
Suddenly the game after, but like the game after, it's like that's a really cool setting. It's a really cool, I think the technical problems were, and again, I do think it was getting a little stale. I liked what Unity tried to do in terms of mixing it up, but it wasn't quite enough.
But I feel the same way about Syndicate. Like, I still feel they're always,
because Syndicate's still building on the things that Unity did.
You go through this whole marketing cycle where they tell you it's different, and then you play it, and you're like, it's not different. It's the same damn game with a couple little tweaks in it. And I think if they came back in 2017, Q4 2017, and put out a great Assassin's Creed that was bug-free, that's really what we got with Syndicate. I still think it tanks.
Syndicate didn't tank.
That's right. I'll recant that. I still don't think it sells up to anywhere near what prior installments. I don't think it sells up to Ubisoft's standards for what they spend on the game and expect to get in return for their.
Well, I think they're going to have to claw their way back up to that point. I don't think the next Assassin's Creed is going to do it, and I think going to a 2-year cycle would be very smart. I think part of the problem.
This game was supposedly developed on a 2-year cycle.
Well, they're all done in 2-year cycles, but the problem is, I think, and this is key, that I think this isn't really talked about much really when people criticize these games, but I think part of the problem is they all are on 2-year or 3-year cycles, but they're all done by different teams.
Right.
So there's no real coherence in what an Assassin's Creed game is or what it feels like, because everybody develops their own version of the climbing, their own, they share assets obviously, but none of them all quite ever quite feel the same. Even Rogue and Black Flag don't quite feel the same, and they have the same ship combat. I think if you can give this to a team that can just iterate on this thing every 2 years and just let them breathe and let them figure out what they did wrong in the last one and fix that and innovate on what they, let one team handle Assassin's Creed and build on it in a normal development cycle spaced out so that human beings can handle it, and you're going to have a much better series. And you're going to have a series that evolves more, because that was part of the problem with that, especially the Brotherhood Revelations thing, was all on 3, all different teams. Assassin's Creed 2's team in large part moved on to 3, but other people made Brotherhood and Revelations. And Brotherhood, when you got to Revelations, it was like Revelations forgot a bunch of the things that Brotherhood added in, and you're like, it was because they're all done parallel. You couldn't make it happen. And I think one vision from one team that has the experience with whoever you make to do this next one. Maybe it's the Syndicate. I don't know what they'd be thinking. But and again, there's a lot of talk about the setting reverting to ancient Egypt and possibly almost a complete reboot of the history of the modern day stuff, and just kind of ignoring all that or changing how it works. I think that's wise.
Awkward.
It's a little awkward.
I think it's wise as well. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think unless they change the game drastically, like making it an action RPG, I just think people are just going to. I just don't think it'll ever get back to the heights it was at.
Well, it's interesting to think, like, on one hand, that's one way to look at it. On the other hand, what if you change it like that, you alienate the millions of people that still bought Syndicate?
Yeah.
Are you changing this game series drastically for too few people? What if people just like the way it is? It's like,
Here's the thing, though.
People say all the same shit about Call of Duty.
They're going to sit in a meeting. They're going to look at the curve. They're going to see the curve going down. Like, honestly, I think Brotherhood was the peak of sales for Assassin's Creed, I believe. And since then, it was kind of a slow decline. And then Unity, from then on, it just nosedived. But
I thought 3 was, but I might be wrong.
It's one of those games, though. There's been whatever it is, there's been a lot of games since the
3
peak.
was where I lost my faith.
See, I really liked 3. I know a lot of people don't.
Didn't.
And said that it's like one of their least favorite. I really enjoyed it. I liked the whole.
It's not my least favorite, but it was. I didn't care about anything in that game.
But it didn't kill it. That's not what killed it. Like, people were still on board. It sold like crazy. Like, I think you may be right. I think that is like the best selling one was 3.
That's what I thought it was, but I know Brotherhood sold better than 2.
Brotherhood's my favorite.
Brotherhood's my favorite.
My
as well.
personal favorite game. But
Same.
I don't know, Matt. Like, I just sat and watched on Sifted just the interest in Syndicate. And it's not like anything came out about Syndicate that made people become reticent to embrace it, or there was no rumor swirling that it was in development hell, and there were no previews that came back where people were like, I don't know. Like, all the previews were positive. Game showed well. Game was marketed well. Game ultimately was pretty darn good. People don't care. I just feel like, and
it's
I think
a known quantity.
I think part of it too does go back to what you're saying about how like the whole dichotomy of the modern day with the past has kind of been shoved to the side, and people don't really know what's going on there anymore, and it's not a prevalent part of the game anymore. I think that feeds into it a little bit. I think Unity being a disaster feeds into it a little bit. But I think really more than anything, it's just that people are burnt out on the concept and the whole thing. Like, and I don't know that you release a bug-free game that's set in Egypt changes that. I just don't think it does. I think this series is like, at least as far as being like a 10 million seller per year, is kind of on life support. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I seriously feel like if they want this game to return to the prominence and success that it had before, they need to not just say, oh, well, we have our best team on it or whatever, or now we're going to Egypt or some other civilization. Like, they need to just flip it on its ear and find a completely new angle for it. Like, I just don't think the path that they're heading right, like, they came out today and they're like, well, we're putting our best people on this now. Like, it's not split up between like 3 teams and here's Montreal and here's this other team in Europe. It's one team and we put our best Assassin's Creed guys on it. Like, I don't think that's going to get it done, man. Like, I almost feel like they'd be better off creating another franchise like they did with Watch Dogs and naming it something new so people are more willing to maybe give it another chance.
Well, how much did Watch Dogs sell?
A few million, something like that.
As much as Syndicate?
I think it might have, yeah. I think it may have actually sold more than Syndicate. But Watch Dogs has been out for a while. It's apples and oranges, so it's hard to compare.
That's what I'm saying, is like even Assassin's Creed that people are sort of lukewarm on is still going to sell millions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they didn't have to do this. They could have just kept cranking them out.
They saw the curve. They saw where it's headed.
Right. But but the curve is kind of like, you're probably going to level out at some point. There's a certain number of people are always going to buy these games, especially because it's promoted to the level it is. So at a certain point, their other option was, okay, we adjust the budgets and the expectations of this series so that these things are going to sell 2 to 3 million copies. That's how much an Assassin's Creed game sells now. It's the old Star Trek movie theory.
Yeah.
We're like, we know how much these movies make, so here's your budget. And
if you stick to it, we'll make money.
Yeah. So that's what Assassin's Creed could become. But instead, they're doing this thing where they really want to turn it into something good that excites people and gets people interested again. So the mere fact that they're doing that, I think, is because they could be even more cynical about it. They could have just released. They don't have to skip this year as a release. They could release the PC version of Assassin's Creed Rogue for PS4 and Xbox One and consider that a release this year. They could have,
See, the problem, though,
been much more mercenary about it.
The problem is you can't just say, let's turn a profit on a game and that's good enough. Like, you can't do it that way because you have shareholders, and shareholders expect you. I mean, look at Apple, for example. Apple has more cash than God. Apple had its best quarter ever in the history of the company, and I mean, that's saying something when you're talking about Apple. What happened the day it put out its financial report? Its stock just tanked. It literally lost, like, I think they lost like $20 billion in like 3 hours or something like that of value in the company. Because people aren't just looking to make a profit. They're like, how are we going to make crazy amounts of profit? That's what people look for. And so if you have, like, one of your tentpole games, like Assassin's Creed is for Ubisoft, tanking or just breaking even or not doing as well as the prior installments did, I mean, that was what happened with Apple with the iPhone. Like, iPhone 6 is sold great, but it didn't sell better than iPhone 5. People bailed out. They're like, oh, well, they're flatlining now. They're not creating new products. They're not creating excitement that's going to make what they do a sensation anymore. And that's when people start to bail and they sell their stock, and then CEOs lose their jobs. And, like, you can't just say, well, we can turn a profit on the next Assassin's Creed and that's good enough. That's not what companies like Ubisoft do.
Well, then I would say the problem is that you're comparing technological products to art.
Yeah.
And
well, that's true. So but that is what people do.
They're not all going to be, they're not all going to be Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be Unity. Some of them are going to be Revelations, which is my pick for the worst.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
And you gotta let them fail sometimes. And even if and I don't know, I guess Syndicate probably was the come to Jesus moment because you look at that game and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's no reason it was. But at the same time, it's like, well, how is anyone supposed to know that at launch? I didn't know it wasn't as buggy as Unity, or maybe the story was terrible, or maybe it was, who knows?
Well, that's what us journalists are for, man.
Right. Well, good job. So who knows? I don't know what its lifetime sales will be. Maybe it'll get better when the price drops a little bit. And like the Jack the Ripper DLC was really, they didn't drop the ball on this game. It's just
that's why I'm saying it's dead.
I don't know if it's dead. Like, it's just
relatively speaking, it's dead.
Relative to 3, maybe, but 3 wasn't very good.
I thought 3 was good, but
3 was also a more compelling setting. Like, that's the other thing. I love Victorian London as a setting, but in terms of what that game's original hook was, it had that weird, exotic, historical thing.
Well, I think that's the series' other problem, is that it's just kind of running out of room.
Yeah,
it's running out of really interesting time periods to be set in.
And you even move. Your only move left here is you either go back to ancient times or you do a World War II one.
Right.
And
because look what happened with Far Cry Primal. Like, that game is tracking pretty low on Sifted. Like, as far as interest in our users, like, it's not getting a lot of one-ups. It's not getting a lot of comments. Another part of it, too, is that there's just been a deluge of media for the game over the last month and a half.
But you know what's funny about that? I've played every single Far Cry. All of them. The side one, Blood Dragon, all that stuff. I played it all. And the other day, my girlfriend says, what do you know about Far Cry Primal? And I'm like, oh, I know, we've talked about it on the show. Da, da, da. And she's like, I think I might get that. And I'm like, you are going to get a Far... She's like, yeah, I'm interested. It's the first Far Cry she has ever shown any kind of interest in ever.
Interesting.
Because of the animal aspect, to be able to ride the animals and do all that stuff.
Far Cry's always had, really.
Always had, but it's never had it like that much at the forefront. And all of a sudden, and here's the other thing. She is a Assassin's Creed nut. Yeah. She has figures of all the characters. She has all the games. She plays all of them obsessively. She posts about it on Tumblr. She has friends that are all Assassin's Creed, and it's like this whole weird world where I'm like, okay, so Primal is interesting to me, but it's not like, oh, I got to play Primal.
Right.
Even though I'm a big Far Cry fan, because I have the same concern you do, where it's like, you take guns out, okay, so I'm throwing spears and I'm shooting bows and arrows for 40 hours.
Right.
How are you going to make that interesting? But
how do you keep it interesting?
Right. For whatever they're doing there, suddenly this has this whole different person interested in that, and I'm like, well, and that's. And
are there enough of?
Are there enough of her? Yes. And there's a lot of Tumblr people that have that same level of interest.
Yeah.
But is that enough to make it a AAA selling franchise?
Yeah.
Considering the number of them who love Syndicate and love Evie and Jacob and talk about it constantly, they hit a lot of the right notes with that game. But maybe they're not hitting, I don't know, the bro notes.
That could be.
Whoever they alien.
The bro notes.
Well, it's also, who are you going to alienate with Unity's technical issues? People like us who are we're informed about the tech side of things. We demand the best performance out of our hardware. We're not that attached to the story. We're really there to stab people after we jumped off a building and sneak up on guys and crack their necks and stuff. But this other fan base that is always devoted to this series loves the characters, loves the story, loves who they are, and wants to get into
it's like Megan Rue. I used to work with at GT. Yeah. She is one of the biggest Assassin's Creed fans I probably will ever meet, and she loves all that stuff, all the lore, and a new game would come out, and she'd sit in my office for an hour talking about all the little things that she's discovering, and a lot of it was just whoosh.
So I guess part of my skepticism or concern with reinventing the franchise completely for whatever they're about to do is that I hope they don't take this thing that these people love so much away from them in the process.
It's an expensive proposition for Ubisoft, though I would say I think both of us will agree that the series taking some time off is a good idea.
Oh, super welcome.
That's one thing we will agree on this.
As someone who loves that franchise, I love that franchise to death. Even though it's disappointed me several times, maybe more than not at this point when you add them all up. But I love the idea. I love the concept. I love the original one. I was one of the only people that really stepped up and loved the first one, even with all its warts.
I gave it a pretty high score at GT.
I gave it a 5 out of 5, which I probably shouldn't have. In
retrospect, it might be a little high.
At the time, it was. I don't think it was a high score, but then
it was revolutionary at the time.
When Assassin's Creed 2 came out, I was like, oh, this one's better.
Yeah, a lot better. Yeah.
But you can't rate something based on this sequel might improve on this. I can't give you a 7. You have to be a 6.
Right.
You can't do that. But it's in the end, that was actually one of the times when I was like, oh, I wish I had more than 5 numbers.
All right, let's move on to our last topic of the show. We are going to talk about, surprise, surprise, Street Fighter V.
Round 1.
Fight. So, came out this week. It's been a whirlwind of 3 or 4 days.
You may have gotten to play it the next morning.
Yeah. It's been having major issues. We'll get to all that. But I want to talk first about what we really like about this game, because I don't want to sit here and harp on it the whole time, because it does have its share of issues, but there's also some stuff in this game that's really flipping awesome. And I would argue the most important part of the game is really freaking awesome, and that is the gameplay, the interaction with this game. To me, if you ever described a game as butter, this game's butter, man.
Yep.
It is just so fluid, so smooth. I got this game I got it late. I didn't get it from Capcom until a day before it came out, and so I was online playing, and it was literally 2,183 people total were playing the game, and I immediately went online to play, and I just got destroyed. Oh my God, Matt. I have never got my ass whooped at something that bad in my
a good 2-in-1
entire life, dude. I mean, it got to the point, it was so bad. It got to the point where I was just trying to land a hit before I was wiped out. That's how bad it was.
The early access people were a lot of pros.
And they were all using arcade sticks. I don't have a stick for a PlayStation 4, and my old stick doesn't work, and so
What's
I'm
your
playing...
old stick?
My old stick is actually for Xbox 360.
Oh, okay.
I don't even have a stick for PlayStation 3.
If you want, I have some extra PS3 sticks, I think.
I would love a stick. In fact, that's one thing I would complain about this game, is that there's no way to filter people who are playing with sticks out of your queue.
I'll tell you this much. Because I was up in San Francisco when this came out, and I had my PlayStation 4 up there, and had it pre-ordered, so when it came out, I played it. And I've been playing it with a pad, and I'm doing all right with the PlayStation pad. I switched to a stick when I got back, and it's much better.
Yeah.
But it's not.
No, it's totally
unplayable.
playable. Oh, it's totally playable with a D-pad.
Especially if you had any time back in the day on the on the old Dreamcast where you learned to use the shoulder buttons because you had no choice or the old Super Nintendo Street Fighter 2 where it's just you got to do it because none of your friends wanted to buy the 6-button pad, so you're just gonna fierce kick. Fierce punch and roundhouse are going to be on the shoulders. Great.
It does take a little while to adjust to playing fighting games, especially one like this, using shoulder buttons.
It is also easier because, as someone who played a lot of Street Fighter 4, this game is so much more user-friendly in terms of like the linking. There's no more one-frame links.
Yep.
It's much less emphasis on long, drawn-out, memorized combos and more on quick combos that do a lot of damage.
Yep.
And it makes it a more exciting game as a result because it's constant back and forth and constant footsies and constant. I mean, it's
that's one thing I would say
great.
has changed a lot. Is the aerial game now is almost. I wouldn't recommend anybody ever jumping.
Oh, that's true forever. That's been true of fighting games forever.
I feel like this game is more so this way.
I don't know. I don't know that one way or the other yet. But going back to Street Fighter 3, don't jump. Like you only jump if you know for sure you can get.
Well, when they're stunned or whatever.
Yeah, if you want to do a jump in for stun, is one. But like that's. Alex Valle tell you the first thing: never jump.
Yeah.
Don't jump. Stay on the ground because there's nothing good that can happen to you in the air.
Yeah.
That's and it is true of this one, especially with characters like Fang, who can poison you in midair and all that. There's a lot of crazy. The anti-air game in this game is crazy.
It's intense. It's like more.
Every character
has has been.
Yeah, almost every character has like 2 or 3 different anti-air tools.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I never jump in this game. Like you learn that lesson really, really quickly. But going back to what you're saying about its accessibility, I agree 1,000%. Like, I already feel like I'm better at this game. Like, eventually I stopped playing against all the pros and started playing against normal humans. And I already feel like I am far better at this game after playing it a week than I was playing Street Fighter 4 after like a month. Mm-hmm. I feel like the flow of it, the timing of it is better. It feels more natural. Just the whole system with the V-triggers and everything, I feel is a lot easier to understand and comprehend how it works. At the same time, though, there's depth, though, because like the V-trigger is different for every character.
Yep.
So it's not like you just have this like one-size-fits-all like combo or whatever that you can do, and it works for every character. It's like you need to figure out what each character does once they're in V-trigger and what they're more effective at while they're in V-trigger. So,
and you need to know what your opponent can do in V-trigger.
Oh, yeah. And so it adds like a whole other layer of strategy to the game.
It's a lot more interesting than the Ultra system.
I agreed, 1,000%. I like almost all of the new characters. The one I would say I don't really like is Fang. Like, I don't feel like he fits in the universe for some reason. It's not about how he fights; it's how he looks. Like
I don't think he necessarily doesn't fit in the universe, but the fact that he's the new 4th Shadowloo boss is weird. I would never.
He's like a henchman.
If you showed me all the pictures of the new characters, I would never have picked him out as the new like Bison henchman. Like he just isn't. It doesn't seem like his thing. I wouldn't have chosen him as the replacement for Sagat.
Yeah.
Who I hope comes back.
Yeah, I think he will.
But no, it's
it's fluid as hell. It runs like a beast. I'm playing the PlayStation 4 version. It runs amazingly.
PlayStation 4 is great. Apparently not so much on certain PC configurations.
Yeah. Not a surprise.
I've played a fair amount online, and I have never seen a PC player so far.
How do you know if they're PC?
When the matchup comes up, there's a little PS4 or a PC icon next to them. And I've only seen PS4.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's...
And you can choose to filter out PC people if you want to.
Yeah. I don't know why you would.
Yeah, I don't either.
There's probably a reason, but I don't know. I don't think anybody has a particular advantage unless someone starts coming up with like weird, hacks or cracks on the PC.
Which could happen.
Could happen. I don't recall anything like that really happening in Ultra on PC. I played a fair amount of that. The only thing anybody modded into that thing was the most insane outfits that you could ever imagine.
Well, they've also already modded Street Fighter V so that she now has her ass slap back.
Oh, yeah.
They modded it back in. That's freaking hilarious.
PC gaming, folks.
Somebody spent all that time to put that back in there, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, how fast did the nude mod come out for Fallout 4?
No,
10 minutes?
Yeah, like the next day, yeah. So I guess I shouldn't be all that surprised. But I am enjoying the hell out of this game when I'm playing it. Like, I'm really enjoying it. It almost has convinced me to go buy a stick, but if you say you have one you could give me, that would be awesome.
Because it supports PS3 sticks, right?
Yeah, I believe it does.
Yeah, I dealt with like the accessories segment on the last few years of X-Play, so I ended up with a lot of sticks.
No, I would love one, because I only ever got one for Xbox 360, because that's pretty much
I'll look
where
in my closet.
I'm
sure I have at least like some old Marvel vs. Capcom thing you could use.
So while I'm playing this game, I absolutely love it. At least while I'm playing online.
When it works.
When it works, because I just tweeted something
half
last
of the
night.
time it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just last night I tweeted out I'm still getting server errors. Like
I haven't had a server error since launch night. Launch night I couldn't play. It wasn't. I think I finally got online like at midnight Pacific time, and I was able to like register my name. And then it died again, and that was it. Like, and I just gave up. And then
here's the thing: if you have a server error, you can't really play it at all because there are single player modes that you can play if you're not connected, but you won't get credit for
you don't get fight money.
You do. Yeah, so it's like you can play it just for fun, but if you want to play and actually make some progress, not so much.
And the fight money thing is interesting because you can use fight money obviously to buy DLC, which you would otherwise have to spend real money on. And the fight money is pretty generous.
Yeah.
I already have about like 200,000 just off playing like story and survival and some online, and like that's enough for 2 characters.
Yeah.
That's good. And I hope that they realize that because now fight money is worth that's real money.
It is. Yeah, because you can buy goods that you normally have to pay money for.
And if you hit the point where like, oh, we got to reset the servers and everybody's fight money is going to go away, it's like, well, I hope you're ready for a mutiny.
Oh, yeah, that would be bad. I don't think they would do that.
I would hope not.
I don't think that's going to happen.
But there's really no point in playing the game if you can't connect to the servers, which could raise some issues in the future. But it's a weird way to do that, especially opening day when you're like, well, you knew how many people pre-ordered, right? So why weren't you ready for that?
They weren't ready at all. But here's the thing: like I was playing it the day before it came out, where literally. The lowest rank you could have was 2,100. So the most people that could ever be on those servers at a time was 2,100 people, and it was doing the same crap.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It was a struggle. I'm trying to review it. I'm trying to do the game eval for it, and like it was even worse actually than it was yesterday. Like it just constantly dropping off the server. Server error. Server error. Server error. Every time you try to save something, sorry, can't save it. Server error. Like it happened all day. Tried to play it the next day, that evening, same crap. Tried to play it last night, still having problems.
So where was all that in the reviews?
No, a lot of them mentioned it.
They mentioned it?
Yeah. I mean, you saw the review. It's not getting great reviews.
No.
Like I think its Metacritic average is like a 7.5 right now.
It's getting hit harder for lacking the single-player content more than online problems.
Well, look, initially a lot of the day one reviews didn't mention the server issues. As the every day that it goes past launch, the reviews that come out for it are lower. It's like all the reviews that came out, I think a lot of times when you have to review a game on like test servers or whatever, you'll put a little caveat in your review saying we did this on test servers, it's not indicative of the final product, we reserve the right to come back and re-review it, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like they review the game and give it a score, assuming that stuff's going to get fixed. And look, truth be told,
it does.
In a couple weeks, no one's even going to be talking about this stuff. So on some level, you kind of understand that. But you need to include it in your review so people know what they're getting into if they plan on buying it on day one and want to have a good experience. So as the time has gone on, people have become more and more harsh with it because they're like, well, wait a minute, now we're 3 days out from launch and it's still messed up. So at a certain point, the goodwill, there's like a quotient where the goodwill quotient slowly burns down to like nothing. And you're like, I don't have any more love for you.
And it seems to be worse on PC. I haven't played the PC version, but I know there's a lot more technical problems on PC, and
I've only played PS4.
Capcom did respond and put up a response on Steam and said, working on this and a lot of like little fixes for PC, big fixes for PC, and little fixes in terms of like little UI issues. And I guess you can't change the resolution. You can't just change resolution from what it is to what you want it to be. You have to scroll through resolutions, which I'm like, I haven't seen that since like an arcade emulator from like 1998.
Yeah.
But so they're gonna try to fix it. So it was a very timely response from any developer. It was a miraculously timely response from Capcom, because
Street Fighter 4 kind of had similar issues at launch.
Yeah, and it took a while to get those fixed. I don't think it was really all that wise to buy a PC version of Street Fighter 4 until Ultra.
Yeah.
Ultra's like butter,
no
problem, but it took a while to get there. I did see a lot of people having trouble getting acceptable frame rates just certain hardware configurations where it's like you had to turn it down to low, and it looked like playing something like through a fish tank.
Entirely different.
At first, I was one picture of it on like super low settings because on GAF, and I thought it was like. I thought someone had invented like an overlay mod or something for it. I was like, oh wow, someone did a watercolor mod. It's great. It's like, no, it's just what it looks like. It's so clearly the PC version is, if you're a PC player, it sounds like you're going to be having a rougher time right now than the PlayStation 4 players.
Yeah. So let's move on from the server issues, because I'm pretty confident that's something that's going to be cleared up. What I don't know is ever going to be cleared up is the content in this game. So there's like a single player story mode, which is basically a complete joke. There's basically an option for each character in the game, and what it amounts to is you fight 2 to 3 matches. I think some of them have 4.
Yeah, it's like 10, 15 minutes each.
And there's like anime stills with voiceover over top of them that tells a story. The stories are kind of all over the place. Some of them are actually...
It's Street Fighter.
Right. Some of them are actually kind of interesting, and some of them are just completely moronic and idiotic. Like, I'm like, did somebody read this before they like...
Well, they've always, 4 had that too, where it's like, some of the stories are like, clearly part of the mythos, sort of like, explaining what this game is, what's happening, what Bison is doing, whatever. And some of them, like, Dan or Blanca's are just like batshit crazy, like slapstick comedy story. It runs the spectrum, and always has.
But this is basically a complete throwaway. After
Stalling
a while,
for time for June's story update.
After a while, I just started skipping through like the story. Well, I didn't even care. I just wanted to complete all of them because I thought maybe it might unlock something. But as far as enjoy it, like the AI in this mode is a joke. Like I literally closed my eyes and beat one of the fights in this game without even looking at the TV screen. That's how easy it is. So it's just like pointless busy work, I guess is the best way I could put it. So there's, how many characters are there? There's 12? 16? I don't even remember.
I can't remember.
Whatever that number is, you can beat each character's story thing in like 5 to 10 minutes. You can beat everybody's in probably an hour and a half. That's about all you're going to get out of it. Other than that, there's like, is it called survival? Survival?
Survival mode is where you get new colors.
Right. But it's,
and a lot of fight money for the first time.
But it's also stupid. So you assume that, like, okay, it's going to be like a horde mode, like where enemies just keep coming. It doesn't work that way. It's like you fight one match, and then it has to go back out to the loading screen, come back, then you fight another match. It's not like you're in a fight.
Back out to the loading screen.
Well, you have to go back out. Like, it doesn't stay in the same fight. Like, you don't fight somebody, you defeat them, somebody else jumps in and you fight them. Like, it goes back out of, like, the fight. You don't stay in the fight environment in that mode.
Oh, that is how it works now, though. Maybe they changed that?
No.
You in survival, you beat a guy, it's one round, you beat the guy,
right.
And then they do their win pose, and it says, like, you win, whatever, and then you pick, like, whatever your battle perk, whatever thing is, and then it loads real quick and jumps a new guy in, usually in the same, it does like 3 or 4 people in one stage.
Right, but you're still, like, you're not staying in that fight. Like, it takes you to that screen where you choose, like, your perk, and I never choose, like, any for some reason.
I choose health, and that's it.
I never, like, take anything. But, so it takes you out of the fighting environment. Like, it would be better if you're just, like, you fight somebody, they go down, like, a little window pops up, you make your selection really quick, next guy comes in. Like, it's not like that, though.
This is not how survival modes work in fighting games. Because you got to load the whole other character. Like
it's just a character.
It's still a lot of data.
That load entire worlds on the fly. Like, there's no excuse for that. Like, not in modern time with hard drives. Like,
you want to know why it runs so smoothly? Is because it only holds that much at once.
Yeah. Well, whatever the excuse is, it's stupid, and it's again a really dumb, boring mode. And
but that's survival. That's every survival mode ever in fighting.
That
games.
Doesn't mean it's okay, though, Matt. You can't just say
but
that's the way
filler.
It's always been.
Like single player stuff.
That's the point I'm getting at. It is all filler. Like, for a lot of people like to play. Like, where's the arcade mode? Like.
It was never in the arcade.
Has there ever been a Street Fighter game without an arcade mode in it? Ever?
I mean, like versus CPU?
Yeah. Where you, like, go through a ladder of opponents and you have, like, little interludes in between where you beat the shit out of a car or whatever. Like, if you want to play this game by yourself and you're not good at the game, and look, the matchmaking, I don't even know yet whether it's good or not. Like, I know I get my ass handed to me pretty consistently, even after the day before it came out when I was playing all the pros or whatever. I still lose pretty consistently. If you're a person who likes to play a fighting game by yourself, there is nothing in this game to play. For some reason, the AI, why have they made it so easy? Like, literally, you don't even have to look at the screen to beat the guys. Like, it took until, in that survival mode, it took till, like, the 10th guy before it even started to get, like, kind of challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Like...
Because easy mode AI and especially Street Fighter is, they're barely, I mean, the first...
But I didn't find a place where you could set the AI level for it.
Well, only in the, I don't know, if I didn't look, actually. But, like, you can pick Hell level for Survivor.
I was playing Survivor on Hell level, and it took to the 10th fight before it even got, like,
because it's still easy. You know, the easy is 10 matches, right? So you're still basically on easy for 10, and then normal to 30, and then hard to 70, I think, and then Hell to 100. It gets pretty... when I play it, I played through Survival several times just to get colors for the characters I'm using. It can get kind of sketchy around 26 or 27 for me, and usually 30 is 30 in normal is Bison, and he's dangerous. He's for sure dangerous.
I can understand.
And then past that in hard mode, like they get pretty great. But again,
but I don't want
hard
to sit
AI
there
is
and fight like 20 fights to get to a fight where it's
the bigger problem is you have to do that to get colors for in Street Fighter 4 you earn colors just by playing versus,
right?
Which is a much more reasonable system because people are going to want to do that more often. There's a lot of people who play fighting games seriously pretty much never touch the single players. Like, people are never going to use those colors because they're never going to sit down and play Survival.
But we had this conversation through text message the other day, and we were talking about what kind of people buy fighting games, and I feel like the vast majority of sales for a fighting game are not hardcore fighting game fans. Like, hardcore fighting game fans are a niche market. I mean, that's just the facts. And
I don't know anymore.
And look, like. 5 to 10 million people are going to buy Street Fighter V. Like, I would say a best-case scenario of 5 million people who buy Street Fighter V, 1 million of them are hardcore fighting fans. Like, hardcore.
I would say...
Who watch EVO and, frame count and are obsessive over fighting. Most people that buy fighting games just buy them, so when they come in from the bar at night after drinking, they can beat the snot out of their roommate or their friends or whatever. Like, that's what a lot of people buy fighting games for. It's not... for this crazy, like, they don't get into them as much as we do, and I don't even get into them as much as you do, or as much as, like, the EVO crowd does. So, I don't know. I feel like if you have friends to play in this game, I think buy it immediately. You're going to freaking love it. It is a great couch competitive game that you're going to literally probably play until you finally sell your PlayStation 4 or whatever. But if you want to play this game by yourself, or you want to play it online, you better be good. Because the people online are using arcade sticks, and they're damn good. And it's going to be real frustrating real quick for you unless they somehow get the matchmaking to a place where it's serviceable. So,
well, I think the other problem is, like...
if you're a hardcore fighting fan,
but it's not
no-brainer, buy it.
But it's not even about the matchmaking, because it's, at a certain point, it's like, I think people who are of a certain low skill level just don't play online because they don't want to get destroyed.
Which was my point of, like, why the single player does matter.
I don't think the single player matters at all.
Really?
I will say that straight
up. Why are so
up.
many people complaining about it?
Because they have nothing else to complain about. Here's the thing.
I have other stuff I can complain about.
I'm sure you do, but here's the thing. No fighter in history is worth buying for single player. Like, fighting games are competitive games. Like,
I enjoy playing Street Fighter usually in single player.
Well, you're a unicorn then, because I can count on one hand the number of fighting games that have ever been released that have worthwhile single player modes without
Soul
playing
Calibur, I like playing that single player.
Soul Calibur is one of them. Most of the others are Mortal Kombat games. Yeah. There's a lot of Mortal Kombat games that do have robust single player content, but they were terrible. So I'm not going to count stuff like Mortal Kombat Armageddon or whatever. Some of the Blaze Blue games have very robust, single player.
Well, I mean, look at the last couple of MK games have great.
Yeah, they're up there.
Well, I mean, they have great single player. They have like stories and campaigns.
There's a lot of stuff in there. Yeah.
It's like there's nothing like that, and they're saying they're going to put out a single player story for DLC in June, but they're already saying it's only an hour to 2 hours long.
What I'm saying is, there's that million people or maybe 2 million people who play seriously competitively, and I think the vast majority of the remaining people that buy that game are playing against their friends.
Yeah.
They may not even touch single player.
No, I think they're all going to touch single player.
and then they're going to go back to playing with their friends.
Well, because the single player is worthless and pointless.
But that's always been true of Street Fighter, I would say. Like
that doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't make it okay, but it also doesn't make it anything new. I mean, it's like it's like complaining that an RTS game has no worthwhile single player campaign. It's like, yeah, that may be true, but it's also not really what the vast majority of people who play that genre are there for.
Yeah, I don't know about that either, but any other nitpicks that you have with the game?
Dude, I hate multiplayer RTS, and I was always the weird black sheep of all the people that I knew online who would play. They're like, oh, let's play Rise of Nations against each other, and I would go on and get ended in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna go back to the campaign. They're like, you're crazy. I mean, no one plays the campaign. I'm just like,
I do.
So it's like, I think it's just a level of I'm here to play this game against people. I don't care about the CPU. I'm playing the CPU on survival because I want colors.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid that you have to play survival with every character to get individual colors.
And then,
even then, and people may not quite know this yet because most people I think only have one new outfit because of the pre-order thing. You have to do that for each outfit.
Screw that.
Like if you play survival with Chun-Li, I have the Chun-Li battle outfit or whatever.
Right.
You play Chun-Li in the default outfit, and you get new colors for that default outfit, but not for the battle. You got to do it again for the other outfit. And I'm like, are you out of your mind?
They are.
Why would anyone do that?
People will.
And I'm sure it's there.
People trying to get their money's worth out of buying
I'm sure it's
this game.
also there because they know they don't have any other single player content for people to bang their heads against. So
exactly.
I bet when they have more, challenges come out in March, I bet when all that stuff hits in March, or maybe more around Storytime in Street Fighter Storytime, June 2016. I bet when that happens, maybe they'll change it so you just have to go through with the character, and that gives you the colors. But for now, it looks like they're tap dancing to stall for time.
The only other criticism I'd really have of it is some of the graphics feel like they didn't go the extra mile.
Saturn era dithering quality to some of the shadows on the game. Did you notice that? Like the shadows on the faces from the hair look like
the self-shadowing.
An error. Almost.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I also feel like the voice sync is just terrible. The
character, most of the English voice acting is not good.
The voice acting is not good. The writing's not good. The lip syncing with the characters is terrible.
Yeah, well, it's all Japanese lip sync.
They didn't even change it. Do it though. This is a flagship game for Capcom. You have to watch these stupid intros over and over, and it's just watching their flappy jaws.
Or the worst thing is
it's just
also survival where that you get the same win quote over and over.
Right.
I was playing a lot of Chun-Li to get colors for her 2 outfits, so I heard "Don't hold a grudge," okay, for 1,700 times.
Yeah. Just to sum it up, Matt, to me, this game is great for anyone who just wants to fight against their friends. If they're planning on playing it on their own, I don't think it's a great choice. I think they'll run out of things to do rather quickly. Coupled with the server issues the game is having right now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, as far as single-player content is concerned, you probably get about 2 hours of content out of this
if
game.
You're patient.
If you're patient, yeah. Because the other thing, too, that stinks is, when you play each individual story mission, you have to, go through it and then go through all the process of collecting all your points and then start another one. So, yeah. If you're looking for a fighting game to fight against your friends on the couch, or even maybe test your mettle online and learn how to get better, and that is one thing I will say is I have seen my skills improve day by day with this game. Like I said, the day before it came out, get my butt handed to me, I literally was hoping I could just land a punch or two.
It is a lot easier in this game, in my opinion, to see what you're doing wrong.
I'd agree, yeah.
Than Street Fighter 4. Because Street Fighter 4 was a very technically demanding game in terms of execution, and I think Street Fighter 5 is a little easier in that regard, and as a result, you are able to see that, it was hard to see sometimes in Street Fighter 4 if it was you or your execution.
Right.
Was your strategy wrong, or did you hit the button wrong? And in this one, I think it's almost always your strategy. The stuff's pretty easy to get down, so it becomes about how to use your tools, and even losing online so far, I'm like, oh, I lost because I did this wrong, or I lost because he was doing this and I didn't realize that I could do this, or it's a much more robust learning experience, at least for me, and as someone who's very familiar with fighting games competitive fighting games in the first place. But I'm learning much easier and with much less frustration on this game than I did in 4.
Would you recommend someone go buy this right now, or would you say wait till next week?
If you love Street Fighter and you love playing against other people, go ahead and buy it. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing: if you really
You're going
want
to suffer for the next few days, probably.
if you want to compete, if you want to play against people, if you want to be good at this game, like among other people who consider themselves good at this game, and I don't mean just pro people. I mean like people who want to play and be good.
Right.
If you wait until this thing is complete, like I mean, you just wait until June, you're gonna be hopelessly behind in technology. You know, you're gonna be up against. You know, right now everyone's kind of feeling their sea legs out. Everyone's figuring it out, and you see like, you know, even
there's some rough seas out there.
Oh yeah, but even like playing online, I've seen some things where like, you know, there's those moments where like, you know, some guy tries to do something to me and I counter him, and you see that moment where he figures like, oh, I can't do that,
right,
and then he finds another way around what I'm trying to like counter him with. And I'm like, oh, I got to counter you with something different. And you see those, you know, I love those early first few days of the fighting game, like learning times. Those
before
moments.
people have found like their mains, and
Right.
everyone's just trying to play in like everybody.
And it becomes kind of that, you know, oh, everybody's doing the same combo with this guy. This is how you play Chun-Li. This is how you play, you know, Laura, whatever. You know, before everything stratifies like that. This is the most exciting time in a fighting game's lifetime to me, in terms of being a new player. And then there's different kinds of excitement that come later when you're looking at people that know the ins and outs of these games completely, and you're looking at two masters that just are, you know, they're 3 moves ahead of each other in their own heads, and you just have to see who outthinks who, and that's a totally different kind of experience.
Evo's going to be great.
But I'm never going to have that experience because I'm not that good.
Right,
so
right.
This is what I'm all about. And, you know, that is why this game is out so early in this state. Is
because
so they
of
could,
Evo.
Because of Evo, so they can make the Capcom Cup timeline.
Yeah, I think that might have been a mistake, though.
I don't think it is in the end, because the longevity of this game, you know, the people who are at Evo, the people who are into this scene, the people who are part of the FGC, the fighting game community, like, they're the ones who are going to be playing this game for years to come.
Sure. I'm talking about sales, though. Right now, it's generating a lot of negative publicity on Twitter, social media, word of mouth.
Street Fighter is always kind of a slow burn on sales, though. I think,
look, it has legs, typically.
Yeah.
People will buy it for the next 3 years because they know chances are not another one's coming out. So
yeah. Well, I hope. I mean, they've said up and down. It's like the point of all the online stuff here is, and the server stuff, is that they never have to release Super Street Fighter V or Ultra Street Fighter V or Street Fighter V Turbo, which I'll believe that one. I don't see it.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, who knows? I have a feeling that after the first like season or whatever, you know, maybe next year, maybe next February, it will become Super Street Fighter V, and they'll just change the title screen. You know? And you won't have to buy it again, but it's like that'll be season 2.
All right. So before we move on, what's your favorite new character?
My favorite new character. I don't know. I think I like Nikali.
Me too. He's my favorite new one as well.
I mean, I like. I mean, he's kind of a reference to. He's a little
Blanca.
bit of
He reminds me of a little bit.
A little bit of Blanca. I mean, he reminds me of like about 14 different anime.
Yeah.
a little Super Saiyan going on there.
Yeah.
A little bit, you know. But I like him. I think he looks cool. His V trigger, like when the hair goes crazy, is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like him.
He's also my favorite.
In terms of like what I saw at the
people are saying Rashid. Rashid
is cool. Rashid is my girlfriend's favorite.
Well, a lot of people prefer to play with him.
Mm-hmm. He's interesting.
I like Nikali for the whole package. Like I like to play with him, but I also just like him as a character as well. So.
Rashid's got a lot of cool tools in his box. I am not good with him at all yet, but like I played a little bit of him to get some colors for through survival, and I liked what I felt. He felt a little SNK to me. Like it felt a little bit. That's like
okay.
It was cool. I love SNK games. I felt a little bit of King of Fighters happening with him.
Yeah.
And I like his look. I don't know why he's wearing the techno eye patch thing,
Yeah,
but like because he doesn't have any moves that really seem to use that.
Right.
But like I'm cool. I don't know how to use his ultra, his super yet, where he just does the whirlwind thing.
Right.
But, that's what I love about it.
Most supers are the same. It's like the quarter turn,
and a button.
medium punch. Yeah.
But like it's just like.
But they're not all the same. But
he does like this vertical tornado, and so far I haven't found much that combos into it. It's more of a counter move to me.
Yeah.
But I'll play with him a little more. I don't dislike any of the new characters. I can't use Fang very well because he's just not my kind of.
Fang's the only
character.
one I don't like. I just. Don't
But I saw
at
that exhibition thing they did the other night with where Lupe Fiasco fought Daigo. Some of the earlier fixed. Some of the exhibition stuff they did before that match. A couple of people played Fang, and they were doing some really interesting stuff.
No, I like him as a character.
Concept,
I just don't like his look. Like I just don't think he fits in with the rest of the.
I might pick him up if he gets a cooler costume at some point.
Yeah.
He's a little weird looking for me, and he doesn't. Like, I know he's the new Shadaloo boss, kind of replacing Sagat, but, like, he doesn't look like he really fits with those guys.
I don't think he fits in, like, the universe at all for some reason. He's got that real thin, like, narrow face.
Maybe the new story mode will figure it all out for you.
Well, within an hour or two. All right, so we're going to move on from Street Fighter V. Well, kinda.
Sort of.
Yeah, so we've been doing this show ever since this game was announced. We have never had Street Fighter V as our trailer of the week. We're going to change that. We know you just watched like an hour of Street Fighter V footage. We're going to give you another 2 minutes. But also, while you watch this, send us your questions so we can kind of screen them while we're watching the trailer, and we can answer them right when we get back. So get those questions in. But for now, here's the launch trailer for Street Fighter V.
That was fast.
Yeah, it's just short. Well, here's the thing. Like, they put out so much media for that game. I mean, this whole, like, last, like, 2 weeks, like, every day they would put out, like, a new, like, character profile video. And then yesterday they started doing a strategy video specifically for each character. So, I mean, Capcom, I believe, has delivered on the marketing for this game already. Like, there's, I think, other than maybe The Witcher 3... it's the game on Sifted with the most media underneath it. Wow. So I think Capcom has done its part at this point.
Yeah, they did not half-ass this one.
That was just kind of putting the bow on it there. They got a little bit of the esports involved. But it's also, to be perfectly honest, with a really weak week for trailers. Like, there just weren't a lot of great trailers that came out. And so, in celebration of Street Fighter V, we decided to go with that one. So, let's see. We got some questions here. Oh, there's a bunch. Can you and Matt go to EVO to compete next year? Hold a Street Fighter V tournament at the office. I would just like to go to EVO, period, because I just love it.
EVO's fun. I've been to EVO 3 times. I haven't gone the last few years because, frankly, you get better seats at home.
Yeah, well, that's true with almost every
just about every sporting event or whatever. Yeah, but and then now it's in an actual arena.
Yeah,
it's in Mandalay Stadium,
which is awesome.
Mandalay Bay. And so that's
like where they have crazy. Like UFC fights.
Yeah, it's that is gonna be I mean, I was there when you just dragged a chair into the ballroom and sat down and boom.
I'm wondering if they're gonna have enough people to even fill up half of that room though.
They've sold out the hotel.
The hotel, right?
But that's enough to fill that. They'll
like
do it.
15,000 people, I think that arena holds. You think?
Yes.
Because usually isn't it like 8,000 or 10,000 that show up in that big room?
Yeah, but it's more every year. I think they might finally have hit the point.
Well, yeah, it was full last year. Like, they needed to move to a new venue. But, you know what? You start there. Within a few years, it will be full.
It's going to be an awesome shot. It's going to look really cool.
Yeah. It's going to look really professional.
It's going to have signs. Yeah, it's going to be a wrestling match.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would be down with competing on that stage, for sure.
I would not compete at EVO.
I have played... I mean, I've played in tournaments. I do okay, but in the end, compared to the guys that you know at EVO... Yeah. I am like, I can Dynasty Warriors where there's like, you kill like the 1,000 like guys that all look the same. Like I'm one of those guys.
People at
an EVO tournament
are so good. Like, you don't even realize it. Like, the guys who get eliminated from the pools before like the real thing even starts are like better than the best guy you know.
Like if I went to EVO and I entered like the Street Fighter V tournament, I would be happy if I won a match.
Yeah.
If I didn't get eliminated just 1-2, I'd be happy.
Yeah. It was like the before launch day when I was happy to win a round. Like, these guys are so good. Like, you just watch and you're like, oh yeah, this is a great match, and they go back. Like, these guys are so... And
you see, I played a little bit in like Wednesday Night Fights and some stuff when Marvel vs. Capcom 3 first came out. Because we had that game for like 2 months before it came out as a review copy.
Yeah.
So I was pretty good at it compared to like people who hadn't really touched it yet. and I did okay in a couple of those things. But there is a ceiling where I'm playing against people. And they're pretty good. You know, there were some hard fought wins, and then you get up to play someone like Flo or Alex Valle or you know one of the names, and and then you see what skill is. Yeah. And then you these people that you've been like hacking your way through for a couple of wins. And then this person just goes, "No, you're done."
Yeah,
like that, and you're just like, "No, you're
right. I am done."
You're just outclassed. You are outclassed on a level that you have not encountered before, and it is kind of an amazing experience. I recommend it if you get a chance to play one of these pros. Like, it's an experience.
It's quick. It's a real quick experience.
But no, I'm good. I would love to go back to Evo and compete but I just don't. I have not the time nor the patience to become that good at anything anymore.
Yep. Okay, question this is for Vidya Games. Thoughts on the Mad Catz layoffs? Are you surprised at all, Matt?
Nope.
Me either. Next question. No, seriously, I pretty much figure both Rock Band and Guitar Hero were going to tank.
Yeah, I mean, betting your company basically on Rock Band sales in 2015.
Yeah. That's a big mistake.
That's not...
The biggest mistake was not making the old instruments work out of the box with the new games. Period. Making somebody have to buy a weird dongle or what.
Bad.
Yeah.
Silly.
I'm not surprised at all. And look, it sucks.
The main draw of Mad Catz for years has been the fact that they make really good fighting sticks.
Yeah.
When I remember when they first started making those fighting sticks, I ain't buying a Mad Catz controller. Those things suck,
Nope, not the
and
fighting
all of a sudden
sticks.
the fighting sticks were because of Markman. Markman really changed that company in a lot of ways. He made, they're quality, and now he's gone. So bye. I mean, I
feel bad for people who lost their jobs, obviously.
I mean, he was
not
planning to leave.
By it. Yeah.
I think he even announced that he was planning to leave last Evo, so it was in the works. Maybe that's when he first heard about the Rock Band plan.
It could be.
But that dude did amazing work for the fighting game community and for Mad Catz, and wherever he goes next, I hope wish him all the success in the world and all the sex in the world, for that matter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make that. Linguistic error.
Well, the first question about Evo was from Alex R1239. I want to make sure we call that out. Here's one from Rewind Play Labs. Question: what is your favorite video from game trailers? I kind of mentioned last week that Invisible Walls 200 was probably the pinnacle for the site or whatever. My personal favorite video that I had something to do with was an interview I did in line for the launch of the Wii with this crazy guy who had been sleeping outside for 2 days and said he was all hopped up on grape soda and Demerol. It was literally the best interview I've ever done with anyone. You can probably dig it up on YouTube. You may be able to find it on GT. It's called Wii Superfan. It kind of went viral and turned into this big thing. The funny part too, or not funny, but the crazy part was somebody reached out to me a couple years ago and let me know that he had passed away. The guy had.
Wow.
Because they had created a Facebook group about him,
great
and
Demerol will do that.
Yeah, and he had become kind of a little bit of an internet sensation, and had his own Facebook group and everything. And I guess at some point he passed away a couple years ago or whatever. And so sad to hear that. But that's my favorite thing that I did at GT. It was just one of those things that was lightning in a bottle. It was the right guy at the right place. He was in the right state of mind, and it was just one of those magical interviews. So that's the one thing I would point to. I think I linked to it actually on my farewell post when I left GT on my Tumblr. If you want to find it, if you want to work to find it, that's where you can find it. If you can find my Tumblr.
Yeah.
I don't think I've touched it since the day I left GT. So let's see if we got anything else. From Gus Bricker, any speculation on what Microsoft will show at their gaming event on the 25th? Is it going to be like the PlayStation Experience? I would say no. It's not going to be like the PlayStation Experience. If it was, it would be promoted a lot more than it is right now. And if you were to ask me what game, I would say Gears. At this point, they kind of need to show Gears again. It's been almost a year. I don't think they would wait until E3 again to show it. It's possible.
So you probably show a little bit of it and then an expanded version of the same demo at E3.
That could be. Maybe they debut the new Forza Horizon. Because they announced this week that that's in development. It's kind of weird to announce it's in development.
What Island Nation will we be on this time?
Right. Yeah, so that would be my best guess. But yeah, for it to be as big as PSX, you'd be seeing a lot more marketing for it. I would have got an invitation to go, which I haven't really got. So I would say it's probably not going to be as big as PSX. So you got one, Matt? That you dug up?
We've got AHAB GT, last gen consoles in close relation to HD TVs. The consoles show the value of HD TVs. HD TVs show the value of new consoles. Currently, no console can do 4K. Will this lack of content hurt 4K adoption? By the time next gen rolls around, 8K will probably be common. Will they still be behind, or will they be forever behind in the display? First off, I do not think 8K will be common by the time the next systems roll around, because 4K is going to be a hard enough sell as it is.
Well, to render at 4K is
Right.
like, I mean, you know the kind of PC that you need to render a game at 4K. Like,
and frankly, I mean, the other thing is, like, movies are going to drive resolution upgrades for most, like, home entertainment consumers.
Yep.
And quite frankly, nobody is even stepping up to do the 4K masters right now. So I don't even want to see what they'd have to try with 8K. I mean, there's a lot of Blu-ray transfers to 1080p that are terrible.
Or they shoot every movie in 4K at this point?
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, some of them are, but you also have this weird limbo of digital stuff where, like, you know, digital filmmaking, where, like, you know, you're going to run into that problem with Star Wars Episode 2. Star Wars Episode 2 was shot and rendered in 1080p.
Right.
It can never be 4K.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So you're going to have a problem with that. With stuff on film, you know, film is roughly 9K, I think, is what they usually say. So yeah, you could get a beautiful 4K transfer out of anything that was shot on film, but you need a good copy of it. When you need the negatives of it, you need make an interposit. You got to put some effort and some money. A lot of people don't think, studios don't think that's worth it. So I would say they're going to have enough trouble getting 4K off the ground, especially because you have diminishing returns in terms of how big your screen is versus how far away you sit. So a lot of people are not going to see a difference.
I consider myself an early adopter, and I still have a 1080p TV. I don't have a 4K TV.
I have a 1080p TV, and it's plenty good. I have a 4K monitor for my PC, because my PC can do 4K, and it looks cool, but, like...
It's just not really practical yet.
Not yet. And I think, it'll be like 3D TVs, where it's like, when will 3D TV be universally adopted? It won't, but everyone will have one because it'll be the TV you have to buy.
Yep. You're right.
So I don't think it'll be an obstacle to the future systems at all. I don't think that's... We'll be lucky if the next game consoles can do 4K, frankly. I don't think
really lucky. I mean, Xbox One is basically 900p, so you can do the math. Let's see. Case Money. Where would sales have to be first month to meet expectations for Street Fighter V? It's like Matt was saying earlier, it's a slow burn. It's one of those games that's going to sell. It's one of those games where people buy a console, and if they pick up a fighting game, they're going to pick up Street Fighter V for the next 5 years. So it's going to sell for a while. I would say even if it does 1.5 million, it's a smashing success in the first month.
Yeah. About right.
Yeah, I think that's probably
I think it'll probably, over the course of his lifetime, will probably crawl to about 4 or 5 million.
Yep, agreed.
And that'll be good enough for Capcom.
Yep, if it does one, I mean, honestly,
it'll be good enough for Street Fighter 6.
I don't think the budget on that game was really all that high.
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean,
probably not.
They'll probably, if they sell like 1.5 million, they'll already turn a profit on the game.
And clearly they are, going in hard on the community and on the competitive scene. So, clearly they expect to make a lot of, maybe they make some money off of however they monetize the idea. I don't know how Evo benefits Capcom really, but they clearly put some time into it with the Capcom Cup situation. So there's a plan in there somewhere.
Here's one from Vera7AS. I don't know how I'm supposed to say that. Verasauce, maybe? Sorry, I'm trying. As someone in the competitive scene for fighting games, how do I send the message to Capcom that the game is unacceptable, but still buy it because I love the gameplay?
Veritas, I think, is what
how you say it?
they're
Veritas.
going for there. Yeah.
Okay. Twitter,
yeah.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Buy it anyway and then yell at them on Twitter.
That's pretty much all you can do.
That's really all you got.
That's the only recourse you have. I mean, you could tell us to pass a message along, and we'll pass it along at E3.
Yeah, I mean, I'll complain about it to Seth Killian next time I see him, but he doesn't even work for Capcom.
Yeah, he doesn't even work for them anymore. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all you can do. Social media, Facebook maybe. But yeah.
Maybe just don't buy it until June. But again, then you're going to be hopelessly behind in terms of game familiarity with the game.
Yep. J Reed Vic 7, Shane and Matt, do you think it's interesting that everything is moving towards open world RPG shooter hybrid this generation? Function of the marketplace or tech or both?
A bit of both, maybe. I mean, it's certainly the more you see these games like sell well and sell big, the temptation is there, and then the open world thing is always good for like marketing purposes because you get to see like, look at that mountain, you can go there, and sometimes they even mean it. Destiny, and and The Witcher is going to make it impossible for people to resist that, because it's such a critical darling and it was so popular and sold way better than the previous installments, and so that's kind of proof that like to them, I'm sure at least to a marketing department, that like, hey, if you make it open world and big and last forever and action based, people will come.
Yeah.
So I think it's a convergence of the two things. It's also like that's just the trend right now. I mean, at one point it was shooters. At one point it was fighting games. Remember when the 90s were full of fighting games no one remembers that people would, and now someone would make like a random fighting game out of nowhere. You'd be like, what's wrong with you? But back in the day, it's like, hey, we're going to make Bio Freaks, and that's going to be our.
I forgot about that game.
That's going to be our ticket to success.
You know what I think it is? I think it's just like Darwinism. I think what you're seeing is that people are taking parts of games that are good and they're discarding parts of games that are bad. And so they're plucking the best parts of every genre and every game, and they're saying, why can't we put all those best parts into one game to make the ultimate game? And so what I think you're seeing is just natural selection. Parts of games that have been maybe even tropes over the years that really don't work and aren't great are just slowly getting sliced off until all you have left is the very best parts of every genre. And so people prefer open world over like a linear game. So every game's open world now. People prefer to be able to level stuff up. So now you're starting to see like action RPGs come into play. And I just think it's almost like Planet Earth. Like eventually everyone's going to crossbreed together and we're all going to be the same color. It's probably not going to happen for thousands of years or whatever. But eventually, someday, this planet, everyone's going to look the same because everyone's going to have crossbred together. And I think that's what's happening with video games, just at a more accelerated rate. So
what we're saying is eventually someone is accidentally going to create the version of Fable Peter Molyneux described at GDC in 200001.
Yeah, because that would have kind of been
the ultimate game. Like, yeah, that's what he described was the greatest RPG ever.
You're right. Let's see, are there any more? Oh, there's a ton now. Oh, man, sorry, guys. We're not going to be able to get to all these, and I'm sure you guys are asking great... Oh, my gosh, there's so many now. I wonder if some people took a bathroom break while we broke down our stream there for a little bit. Oh, my gosh, Matt. I feel terrible we're not going to be able to answer all these. I really wish that we could have. Yeah, we're all going to look like Shane. Let's hope not. That would be a travesty. Let's see if we can just find two more.
Did you guys see Rise of the Tomb Raider won Best Video Game Writing from the Writers Guild, Nolan Elric? Yes, I did, and that's crazy.
It is crazy.
When The Witcher 3 was up, I mean, that sounds like guild shenanigans in there to me somewhere.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising.
I loved Rise of the Tomb Raider. I thought it was great.
And it did have good writing.
It did have good writing, and I like Lara Croft and a lot of the other characters in that game, but if you think that game was better written than The Witcher 3, you are out of your damn mind.
Also, that Rise of the Tomb Raider is a chapter. Witcher 3 is
a
book,
novel.
A novel. Yeah, like, that's just not fair. It's like...
I mean...
I don't
know what's happening there. I don't know how the award is chosen, but it was chosen poorly.
Line for line, I would still say Witcher.
Yeah.
You're just not even taking, like, the quantity into account. Like, it's just a better written game, but...
Mm-hmm. I would say Family Matters quest alone in The Witcher 3. Like, one of the best examples of game writing I've ever seen.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we can find one more before we sign off for the night. They took our jobs. Okay, here's a good one. Alex R1239, what do you think about Amazon entering the gaming market, creating the Lumberyard engine? Do you think they'll be successful?
I have no idea.
I have no idea why they did it, to be honest with you. Like, I really have no idea. Like, the engine space is already crowded. From what I read, it doesn't really work with VR, which is what all the other middleware programs are doing now. They're integrating VR, so it's seamless to develop for all the VR platforms through one middleware program.
It just seems like a really weird element of the business to decide right now that you want to get your foot in that door.
I mean, the only thing I could figure is, like, look, Sifted is served on Amazon, like AWS, and like they're trying to build that part of their business, their servers and their infrastructure. I don't know if there's some kind of a Trojan horse hidden in their middleware program where maybe you can build a game and then easily stream it through a service. Like, I think what it is something that we don't know about yet. There's some hidden agenda that Amazon has for this that we're just not privy to yet, and I think it will become clear eventually to all of us. But for right now, it really doesn't make much sense to me. But Amazon has money to burn, so...
Yeah.
And they're also smart, so I don't think they would just frivolously...
I assume there's something behind it,
Yeah.
I'm sure they know more than we do about it.
They definitely do. But yeah, outwardly, it doesn't make a ton of sense at all to me. I'm not sure what they're up to. And I have a friend, you have a friend too, Garnet Lee, who works at Amazon. So maybe I should just hit him up and ask him what the hell's going on and try to figure it out that way. But yeah, it's I was surprised to see that story. But Amazon's smart, and it usually knows what it's doing. So I think I'll put a little bit of faith in them and assume that there's something we don't know about yet that makes it kind of all make sense. So I think that's it, folks. Thank you for the good questions. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody's. We probably could have sat here for another 3 hours just answering questions. Really appreciate it. We'll be back Wednesday, I think, of next week.
Yeah.
So it won't be Thursday of next week. It'll actually be Wednesday next week. So just in 6 days, you don't have to wait too long for your next fix of GameFace.
Trying to claw our way back to Tuesday eventually.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll probably just keep stepping back until we get back on to our Tuesday schedule. It's kind of hard to go from like a Thursday to a Tuesday, because then you have Friday and Monday for news.
You got to really hope something breaks
Crazy
over the weekend.
happens, yeah. Or they decide to release all the games on Monday for once. So we'll be back next Wednesday. We'll see you guys then. GameFace is up and out.